order to make change, you're saying that if I take the role of CEO, then that's my responsibility. The president's a great example. They know when they're going in that position, the world will be screaming at them. And whatever happens with the country, war, whatever, the president gets blamed. I guess it's like a shift in ideology that like, okay, you're stepping and taking that position, fine, but it's like, you have to take the consequences too.
All of the healthcare CEOs, they go home and to their staff, when they go to a staff meeting, they're like, oh, hell yeah. Do you know what we did today? We managed to somehow get more customers, more people into our insurance healthcare, and yet increased our denial and our delay and denial rates.
And we were driving down I-80 down through Pennsylvania, and he asked me a question that, let's say, come out of college, you just graduate University of Michigan, Coca-Cola offers you a great position. And he asked me, would you take that position? And I sat with it for a minute, and I was thinking about it, and I said,
the board and look at your time and you're like, oh my God, I did it. You know, I didn't realize I did it actually until like a little after I pulled it, because I mean people were like watching me because they were like seeing I was close to beating it. So all the coxswains are the people who are they steer the boat generally, and they make like calls, but they also like will help you will help your technique. So they were all watching me because they're like, oh my God, this guy's gonna do it. And I didn't really realize it, right? I was just pulling. I mean, when you're on a 6K test, you know, I guess if you've ever watched rowing, it looks so fluent, so like pretty, but it's not. When you're on an erg or in the water, you are in so much physical pain because your body just wants to quit, but your mind just has to tell you, you know, keep going, right?
all right, Ben. How's it going, man?
Thank you for letting me on the podcast.
So excited for this.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for coming down, man. I know we've been trying to schedule this, and I remember the first day I asked you to film this podcast, you said, I'm a man of my word. We will get it through, and we finally got it through.
Yeah, it only took a couple months, but here we are.
Finally, man. Well, yeah, how's life? We just made it to the end of fall. We're here.
Yeah, it's just the end of the first semester, so classes are all wrapping up. Finals are here, but it's feeling all right. I'm a rower at the University of Michigan, so switching from, you know, the outdoor season to the indoor, so onto the machine ergs. It's definitely a tough transition, but
Is it? Why is that?
well, I mean, rowing on the water is fun. You know, you're with a team, you're with other people, but on the erg you're alone. You know, just you and that machine. You just gotta keep pushing, keep working.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about being on a team that for some reason every podcast, most people are not college athletes will talk about how much they miss being on a team in high school, but I don't remember, you told me that you walked on the team here, right? So you didn't come into Michigan like recruited for rowing per se, so you walked on when you got here? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
So how was that process like?
So Michigan rowing here is technically club. However, we were club varsity. However, like through some like scandals with the university, our varsity title was ripped.
Why's that? What'd they do?
I think the university pays money to have a varsity title, so more money would go to our sports. And also, like, I think the university thought it was unfair that some teams were considered varsity and others were not. So they wanted to have it all standardized, even though that shouldn't necessarily be true, because some club teams practice more, work harder more than, you know, have more hours. It's more serious than other club teams. So it makes sense to have a varsity status, a club varsity, but university thought it just wasn't the right choice. But yeah, walking on was definitely a good experience. It was sort of like, you know, there's a lot of recruiting efforts that were made by a lot of the seniors, juniors, sophomores. Yeah. You know, sending out emails, being on the diag. I knew I wanted to row coming in from high school. I was a football player, and my father rowed, and also my cousin rowed. So I figured I think it would be a good experience, and it'd be something to do, you know.
Wow, it's a great story, man. So you already had that set on like the first day you were here.
Oh yeah, I knew I wanted to row.
Cool, man. So have you rowed in high school, or this is the first time?
Oh, this is the first time. Yeah, I mean, I only heard stories from my dad about like the hard work, running up the stairs, being on the water, and, you know, pushing yourself to your max. And I thought those were all cool stories, and I wanted to be a part of it. And now I'm here, so.
Yeah, dude. So you come here for the first time you row, and in the first season you're here at Michigan, you break the all-time
Yeah,
record.
yeah. So
Been set since
that's
the
a good
90s.
story. So yeah, the rowing. If you don't know, it's fall, winter, fall, winter, spring, and then summer you're supposed to work on your own. It's an all year thing. So I come into the first fall season, get on the water, and obviously my rowing form was terrible. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm brand new to the sport. And we go inside into the winter season, and this was just the time where like you got to put the watts down. Your form doesn't really matter. What matters is can you put the watts on the machine. And I think my football experience gave me a lot of like that lifting background. So I was always a bigger guy. So they sort of just put me on the machine and put me on a serious training schedule, and I stuck to it. I ate well, and I managed to beat 2 records in like 6 or 7 months at the University of Michigan here, the 2K and the 6K. So I was number 3 for 2K and number 2 for 6K. And so yeah, it was definitely one hell of experience coming on just to a club sport here. You know, this is a very competitive club sport too. Michigan, if you don't know the way the rowing like competition works, is not NCAA. It's something called the IRAs, and they are like the Ivy League schools basically. You know, rowing is a very preppy sport almost, like sailing. You know, so it's mostly dominated by like Ivy League schools, Penn, Cornell. I mean, Harvard and Yale are very good too, and a lot. And it was really in UK too. So like. What is it? Oxford and Cambridge. I mean, those 2 schools are where you'll find some of the best rowing in the world. So, in this case, however, I think around in 2004, 2003, one of those years, University of Michigan was always a club team, right? And these teams are funded programs, these Ivies, and we managed to do so well because we were competing against the Ivy League programs in the IRA, and we were able to do so well except for. What I think it was Rutgers. What the Rutgers team realized is like, okay, if the university of team can compete against the IRA programs without having funding, why do we need to fund them?
Rutgers, you said?
Rutgers University. So Rutgers University basically stopped funding their rowing program.
Wow. What year was this?
I think this was 2004, 2003.
Okay. I don't know if I told you because I had on the podcast a Rutgers rower who was world champion. So.
Wow. I wonder if a good question would be whether he rowed pre-2004, post-2004, because the rowing program changed after that. And what happens is all the IRA schools were like, oh crap, we gotta. If this is happening, if it can happen to Rutgers, it can happen to us.
Right.
So they kicked out all of the club teams, all of the unfunded teams,
did.
Including Michigan and Rutgers at this point.
Who's they, IRA?
The IRA.
Gotcha.
The IRA, the funded programs, the Ivy League schools.
Wow.
And so Michigan was left.
That would have sucked, man.
Yeah.
As an athlete.
Well, so what happened was they created a new a new competition, a new league basically called ACRA. And that's the one that we are in now and still compete in today.
And those are all the Ivy Leagues are in that same league?
So no, Ivy Leagues are not.
Gotcha.
So we only compete against other club varsity or club teams. But it's still quite competitive. We still have a lot of our coach is still the same as in 2004. He's been coaching for 30 years. So it's treated like it's a serious program. Yeah. And it is. So.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. It's great to hear their history of it.
Yeah,
as well. So yeah, do you know who held the record before you have the record now? I mean, first of all,
I know one of them. One of the guys' name was Mitch Tyson. He was I actually haven't met him, but this is actually a funny story. So when I broke the records, actually know both of them. The other one was named Bill Schnittman.
So you met them?
Oh, I haven't met them.
Okay.
Bill Schnitt. A crazy story about Bill Schnittman. There's a boat named after him actually in our boathouse, and he was I'm not sure quite the year he rowed, but he was murdered by his ex. Yeah, crazy. Murdered by his ex-wife or something like that, or no. I think they had a divorce or okay. Here's the story, right? I think he had a girlfriend at this point.
How old is he? Do you know? Is he
I don't know. I don't know. This is
Okay.
postgraduate though, definitely.
Right.
Had a girlfriend at the time, and that girlfriend just broke up with like a pretty like abusive or like bad relationship, and out of jealousy, the man murdered him. So crazy
The
story.
man, as in like
The ex-boyfriend of the girl that Bill was dating. Yeah, so it's a crazy story.
What the hell?
Listen, I don't quite know all the details there.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised. I remember the moment I took his record, I got like a coach went up to me. He's like, "This is a huge deal. This is a huge deal. You've taken out the Schnitt man." I'm like, I have no idea who this guy is. But yeah.
Oh man. So you said that when you first started rowing, obviously you have work ethic experience through playing sports in high school, and you can have an idea of like sports, how they work, and what it means to be an athlete. Your rowing form was shit as you described it, but I'm sure that if you have the caliber or skill level to break a world record in your first season, you probably might have noticed from the beginning that although your form is shit, maybe you're better than people around you at certain other things. Like you probably did some ergs in the fall as well, and wait, I'm kind of good at this. Like when did you start to realize that wait, like I'm actually kind of good at rowing?
So I guess like in terms of like my technical progression, it's pretty average, maybe slightly above average because I've been putting in a lot of hours, a lot of time. Especially in the summer, I went to Buffalo and rode there for a while. But
New York.
yeah. Because my cousin actually rode in the Worlds, so she's very very
Amazing.
very good rower, and she coaches at West Side Rowing Club out in Buffalo.
What team was she on? U.S. or?
A U.S. team, yeah,
Nice.
U.S. team for Worlds. She was
Our
in
team
the-
is pretty good. Our U.S. team, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. We won the gold in the fours.
2024.
So and that's pretty impressive.
yeah.
Like it takes serious. I mean, there's some definitely serious competition out there. But yeah, when did I realize I was a good rower? I guess to answer that question, I don't think I've ever realized I was like a good technical rower, because to be honest, I'm not there yet. Like it takes so many years. Rowing is not you figure it out in 2 weeks type of sport. It takes years and years of refining the craft, the perfect stroke, the perfect catch, the perfect drive. Like each of these elements that a rower has to do to put the blade in, take the blade out, feather the blade, all these very technical elements, I have not mastered at all. I think the moment I realized I had potential to be good at rowing was when I broke the 6K record.
So it kind of happened out of nowhere.
It was out of nowhere. It was definitely out of nowhere. It was just one day I was just like, you're pulling a 6K test. That was the training plan. And I actually hit squat 2 days before because I'm like, who cares? It's just a 6K test. And all of a sudden, the day 2 days before, yeah, huge squat. And I'm like, who cares? And I just hit the workout, and all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God, I was holding someone's name, and it was definitely really interesting. I'll tell you that. So yeah, I don't know though. Maybe eventually I'll go. It depends on how things are. I have an injured back, so from a herniated disc from deadlifting in winter of senior year.
That's rough.
So we'll see how it goes from there, and maybe you'll see me at the Olympics someday.
I'd love to, man.
That would be
That would be
sweet.
best. I
That
look
would
at the
be
TV.
sweet.
I see BJ Rosen. Amazing, man. So you have the 6K, just general training. You're not trying to break any world records. You squatted the previous day. It's kind of doing general training, and you have your time. When did you first realize that you just broke a world record? Did you tell someone?
It wasn't a world record.
Oh, not sorry. Michigan
school
record.
record.
Misspoke. Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of knew it right away because you pull the split on the machine erg and it sort of says a time, right? And you just compare it to there's a big board of records, and so you sort of just look at that the board and look at your time, and you're like, oh my God, I did it. I didn't realize I did it actually until a little after I pulled it, because people were watching me because they were seeing I was close to beating it. So all the coxswains are the people who are they steer the boat generally, and they make like calls, but they also like will help you will help your technique. So they were all watching me because they're like, oh my God, this guy's gonna do it, and I didn't really realize it, right? I was just pulling. I mean, when you're on a 6K test, I guess if you've ever watched rowing, it looks so fluent, so like pretty, but it's not when you're on an erg or in the water, you are in so much physical pain because your body just wants to quit, but your mind just has to tell you, keep going, right? You have to get the next stroke, next one. So I really wasn't even seeing my split, my screen, my time when I was pulling the 6K test. It was just like, hang on, survive.
Wow. What were the first emotions that went through your mind when you saw that you broke it? Like, was there a sense of disbelief, or like, what was the first kind of when you realized that, oh, I just did it?
It was like, well, I'm like, oh, well, where can I go with this? I mean, like, it wasn't like, obviously I was extremely happy, like, because I'm like, oh my God, but it was sort of like, I sort of didn't really know, like, what was going on. Like, okay, what does this mean? How competitive are these record boards? Like, I had a lot of questions were going through my head, but I think it made me realize that out of all the sports I've played, this one I'm like have a talent for. It's just more it comes naturally. So it made me think like, okay, well, if I did this in 4 to 6 months, imagine what I could do in 4 to 6 years. So I remember I immediately thought very long term, and thought like, okay, if I continue this training, continue this plan, continue working hard, there's this number, and it's called like in the time, basically the 2K test is like the main test, so it's the 2,000 meters, and the time to beat, at least for like if you want to be a serious heavyweight rower, is sub 6 minutes, and that's like if
for
you
what
hit,
distance again?
2,000 meters, the 2K. Gotcha. If you hit sub 6 minutes, that's like I don't know, like breaking a 4:30 minute mile.
Wow.
Like that's like the holy, like you
what
are
do you have for
fast.
a 2K?
6:10.
Ooh.
So I'm 10 seconds away. I pulled that in my first year.
Do you know what the world record is for the 2K?
Yes, I do. It's a 5:35.
Oh my God.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, once you get to these top levels, like it starts to become absolutely ridiculous. So we do at the University of Michigan about 80K a week, which is pretty good. I mean, that's a lot of meters.
And how does the split look like per week? Are there like heavy days, light days, or?
Yeah, there is. So there's something called like steady state days, or like lower intensity, and those are long. So generally like a 3x20 minute, so an hour of just like pushing that machine, and then or on the water. And then there's more like heavier days, like long interval or anaerobic threshold. And so anaerobic threshold are definitely, in my opinion, the hardest days, and it's because the goal of an AT day is to like your body builds up lactic acid, and the goal is to ride that line, and it's and like when you're working hard, right? But like your body also flushes it out, and like the lactic acid that you feel is like pain, right? That's like
burning sensation.
The burning sensation that like athletes feel, and so the goal is if on AT days, you're supposed to ride the line. So ride the line of you build up a bunch of lactic acid, and your body's trying to push it out. You want to be right on that line, that equilibrium of holding intense amount of lactic acid in your body, but not going too far. So it's just a lot of pain for a lot of minutes. So that's like at 3x17 minutes. And so it's like 17 minutes of holy shit. I am in a lot of pain, but like,
would you compare it to like a max sprint or like somewhere around that?
It's not like a max sprint. A max sprint is not that painful when it comes to like a 100 meter or a 200 meter, because it ends in 10-20 seconds, right?
That's correct.
I would say it's like a 3 mile,
like a 5K.
or like 2 or like 3x2 miles. So like, I mean, you're definitely like in a lot of pain for a long time. That's sort of the idea, and it trains your heart. LI is long interval is basically the same, except for you're supposed to go even past. You're supposed to basically hit your limit. So where the lactic acid is being flushed out, not fast enough. It's not your lactic acid buildup is too much, and like you just hang on. You do as much as you can. You push your body to its physical limits.
Wow.
It's definitely crazy. And yeah, but like once again, what I was talking about with some of the, once you get to the highest level, Olympic levels, right? Exercising for an hour, especially at the intensity, this is not just like a jog, right? This is on the machine. I mean, you're feeling it. And this is just on a steady state, right? This is not like a crazy AT, anaerobic threshold piece, as I just explained. Like some of those guys, you have to do like 4 by 50 minutes, which is crazy, right? I mean, think about exercising for 50 minutes and then doing that 4 more times.
Yeah.
Like they eat in between their exercises because they can't. Like after their second 50 minute, their body starts to run out of energy. And the thing is like the reason they have to put so much hours in time is that their muscle cells have like capillaries around it, and to like stimulate more capillary veins or whatever, to stimulate more like a better oxygen efficiency, they have to maintain even more and more volume. So it's really crazy what's at the top level, but
Wow.
I hope to get there someday, right?
Wow, you definitely will, man. I'm just looking at the way you're training, because not only do you have the natural talent, but you also develop the work ethic that it takes to actually
You have
turn
to.
that skill into something that can be even greater. So yeah, when you're doing your AT training, how do you know you're riding the line? Like, is there like a screen in front of you that's measuring that?
Oh
Or
no, you
can-
know.
You
No,
know?
you don't know, but you know. It's because you're in a lot of pain, right? Like I think something very interesting about, and this is all cardio sports in general, is that pain is perceived as information when you're on a machine, or you're running, or you're biking, you're a cyclist. Many people view pain as like, go away from it. You must escape it. But in cardio sports, it's the exact opposite. You want to you want to feel enough pain where you know that like, okay, this definitely sucks, but if I continue to do this every day for a long time, it will result in a championship or winning. It's really like who can withstand more pain for longer. And like that's seriously what like rowing and biking and all these sports are about. It's about like, and you definitely know. I'll tell you that.
Wow. I think rowing is definitely up there as one of the most difficult sports mentally, just because of, I feel like a lot of people from the outside don't see it as exciting, as someone who's an athlete on the boat or even on the erg. It's so repetitive, and you're almost like training the same
That's right.
motion over and over and over and over again. So I think a lot of people have that mental barrier when they think about rowing, that I don't want to just do that thing over and over again. Like at least other sports, there's more excitement to them. There's more like balls moving around and stuff, and there's more excitement there. So how would you say you overcome? First of all, do you agree with that? Do you feel like there's some kind of mental resistance to something that's so repetitive in motion, or there's something that excites you about that as well?
Oh yeah, it's definitely mentally taxing for sure. You think about like swimmers, right? Swimmers, I guess that's a slightly more exciting because you're seeing it's a little shorter, right? But some of those long swimming events are very similar, because you're staring at that blue line, and you're staring at that blue line for so long at the bottom of the pool. I mean, it is mentally taxing. And being on that machine erg, because on the water, it's very different. It's because on the water, you have people around you, right? If you're in an 8 or a 4-man, 8-man boat, you're rowing with others. And so that is exciting in its own way, right? Because it's like you're with the boys, you're pushing hard, you have a team around you, and it's like to me is exciting. But on the erg, like just like when you're there, it's a mental barrier for sure. It's just like doing that same. Also though, like having something repetitive in my life has definitely been a good thing for me. I think just like it sort of clears your mind. I feel like, especially in like the modern world, and definitely at a university, you have so many things that are going through your head, like your schoolwork, your grades, jobs. There's a lot of pressures that are just the world pushes onto you, and you have to somehow get through those pressures by doing what you can. But like sometimes you just want to escape from those thoughts, and like rowing is just something that's there. And every day, especially in that winter season, you're going to go on that erg and you're just going to push. And that's all you're going to think about. You're not going to think about anything else. And that's sort of what keeps me there.
Wow. So you almost feel as if these hours you spend on the erg or on the boat, they're so mentally and physically taxing that you literally just can't waste time thinking about anything else.
That's right. That's right. That's the only. I mean, like it's honestly kind of like I've pushed myself so hard on the erg sometimes that like I really you enter a different zone. I swear, it's like, people talk about meditation like they're entering or some like some higher spiritual level. I'm not really sure I buy that, but maybe I do, maybe I don't. I've never really tried it, but I'll tell you one thing: when you push your body to the limit, when you're in so much pain that like you can't even see straight, like the moment you're like it's like you're like, wow, like, what is going on? Like, it's exhilarating, I'll tell you that, especially after like in a intense like test piece. You have people like I feel like it's in slow motion. So you'll have like you 2K, right? 2K test, and you'll have like 500 meters left, right? And this is like when you're in maximum pain. Like your body is just saying stop, and you can't stop, but you're not gonna stop, and you're gonna get this score. And there are people yelling, like screaming behind you, hit it, work, keep pushing, and it's just like, it's exhilarating for sure. Like that, like just like you the only thing you can think about is just maintain the split. Like and at that point you're not even thinking that. It's just nothing. Your brain almost turns off and you just push, you just work. It's beautiful almost, in a way. It's just there's no longer any thought. It's just do. It's serious. It's for real. It's definitely for real. I'll tell you that.
There is something spiritual about physical pain. That's for sure. And maybe not to the extent you've felt it. I felt parts of it, I think, through sports I played in high school. Just when you do push yourself to some limit beyond, or all you can think about is like, I'm just right here, right now, and like nothing else matters besides just to keep going. There's something spiritual about it. And I think a lot of people, even in ancient cultures, I think people have studied. Like I was reading something about some of the societies in South America. There's obviously been people that try to go on access things like ayahuasca and psychedelics to enter this spiritual realm. Some people try meditation to enter this spiritual realm, and apparently some of the people in the South American civilizations did like thousands and thousands of years ago. They would induce like physical pain on themselves to enter that same realm. Like they would like cut their hands off and start bleeding and do whatever they could to kind of access that. So there's some kind of longing I think we feel to access that, and there's definitely something special about putting your body through. Like they would starve themselves for days, just to kind of.
I'm sure you'd feel something, right? Yeah. You feel something when you're on the brink of death or the brink of, like insane amounts of pain. Your brain rewires, so it does not surprise me. I mean, obviously that's pretty insane, and and unfortunately, some people who have like depression and mental health issues will also do similar things just to feel something, right?
Do you think that's why they do it?
Yeah, to feel something. They do it to feel something. It's like you don't feel anything, and so you just feel so empty. So you just want to feel something. Obviously, that's not like the case for rowing, right? But
right, yeah.
Obviously you're pushing through that pain with a goal. But yeah, I think the idea of just like, yeah, I buy it. I buy it that people use pain as a measure of entering some different spiritual place or realm.
That's interesting because when I've thought about depression in the past and the reasoning behind why someone could go through the mental patterns of committing suicide, it's more just like that. I would imagine it's because they want to stop this mental cycle from keep going.
Oh, I mean like cutting themselves, people cutting themselves.
Right. That's what I would always consider that. But I guess I never thought about like why do people hurt themselves, which is the point you bring up now. And I guess I never connected the two, but I guess the idea of like life has become so numb that I want to feel anything. Like I guess I never really thought about it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I'm not really that knowledgeable in like a lot of like mental health issues, but like I do know that like people who have depression are just feel so empty. They feel nothing inside, that they can't handle their life anymore. It's just not worth living anymore. And so, people may like I don't really know, but I guess people who cut themselves, they want to feel something. Like they want to like they feel so empty inside that they figure, well, if I just induce some pain, at least I'll feel something.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Yeah. I know that we were talking dining hall like a month or two ago, and you thought about men's issues is a big issue. in the world
Yes.
today.
Yeah,
I
we can
mean,
talk about that.
If you want to explore that, like, what do you really mean by that when we were talking about that?
So, okay, this is a big issue, a big topic. I'd like to start. First of all, I'd like to say that I guess men's issues. It's not like it's really the number one thing you'll hear is like a loneliness epidemic, right? Like, and by the way, this is not discrediting women's issues at all or LGBTQ issues. It's just I feel like a lot of people in society they view men's issues as not really an issue, because men for so long in history have been given privilege, and they still are. They still are given a lot of privilege today. But there's something very interesting, and I'm not really sure if it's a Western culture, American culture thing going on, but a lot of men in this country have been feeling, I guess, very lonely. There's a reason. It's not just suicide. It's drugs and other like causes of death, right? I forgot exactly what it's called, but because people say like men's suicide only, but there's more than just suicide. And it's like why are men doing this? And it's even more than just like suicide, because I think we got to point to the problems before we discuss about this, right? You know, it's like education right now. Like women's education since like late 1980s, maybe earlier, has exploded, right? Women are graduating college at a higher rate, getting jobs and starting to get jobs at a higher rate. Obviously, at the gender pay gap is still a thing, but less and less every day, and we see men who predominantly had a lot of, had it almost easy now really don't, and it's causing some problems, and like these are many issues definitely mushed together, but like I think the biggest thing is like, a lot of it's like systematic why men are lonely and are doing these things, like men are, it's not as easy, right? You have more competition, and obviously that doesn't mean we should stop women's rights or LGBT or anybody's rights, immigrant rights. I'm fine, fine with all of that, but like it's harder, right? Being a man used to be a lot easier. You have advantage over other people, and now you don't. And the second thing, and is like a cultural thing as well, like I think especially like at least in my experience of like northern attitude, northern culture is, and definitely American culture as a whole is men are supposed to be very like stoic, unemotional, unmoving, and like I think it's okay for men to be emotional. Obviously, it's about expressing in the right ways and having the right support groups. I mean, you see, like, this is once again, this is a lot, but like women have a lot of like support in their life, like a lot of people to go to, and men not as much. It's there's a lot of issues here that I'm bringing up. I'm sort of just throwing them all at the wall. So
Yeah, there's definitely a lot we can explore there and go deeper into. Just to kind of understand it at like a broad level. I think when we're thinking about like when did this start, the source of it, I think there's like 2 or 3 things you touch on that is the main issue at play. The first one is that men had it easy before, and now men don't have it easy, and that kind of weird imbalance has kind of shifted us into more negative feelings. So that was one of the first things you brought up. Second thing was that I guess men don't have access to the same kind of resources that women do because of the societal culture. They're not recognized as issues. I think those are the 2 things I heard.
Yes.
Are there any other like
right.
major issues you think that have contributed to increasing loneliness? Or?
So I think this is a men's and women's issue, this next one. But like, I think so much of this world is digitalized, and a lot of like I remember in like the .com bubble, people thought the internet would be the greatest thing in the whole world, and it is. Don't get me wrong, the internet's insane, gives people information all across the globe. But there's also a downside to that, and you see a lot of it on social media with short short form videos, TikTok, YouTube, Shorts, Instagram Reels. All these things are, I think, terrible for people. Just terrible. The people talk about the short attention span, something called brain rot, which is just like basically watching nothing. And it's just like, and I think it's real. I think it's real, man. I think having these short videos as just like a content, as just like stimulating the brain, giving no actual information, just nothing. I think that is terrible for like people in general. I think more men watch short-term content, although women as well.
There's like a reason behind that too.
I don't know.
I think the main thing is just the neurobiology of a guy's brain and a girl's brain, where there's certain apps and addictions that women are more prone to, and there's certain things men are more prone to, just based on the design of our brain. Like, men are more prone to short-form content addiction because of their impulsive nature. And women tend to be more addicted to apps that relate to social kind of apps like Instagram and Snapchat, primarily because their brain's evolution has been more interested by social dynamics, just historically. But
yeah, this also could be culturally too, as well. Like if you see more women are on a social app, then as a woman you feel pressured to get that social app as well. Versus men, not so much. But yeah, I definitely think, it's always like the question of, is it nature or nurture? Is it a biological thing? Or
it's always both, usually.
It's always both. That's right.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. And I definitely agree that I think it's terrible for you. And there's no good that I think there's in the short form content. It just ruins lives.
And I'm really talking about like reels, and like it seems so silly just to think like, how are short videos like crushing America? And I think they are. I truly believe it. It's, because I've done it myself. I mean, something's crazy to me is, I remember in middle school at least, we used to talk about screen time. Obviously, right? I mean, even me and my friends, my parents limiting my screen time, right? It was like an hour, right? Like an hour. And I remember I used to think, how can people spend 3-4 hours on their phone?
So you're on this in middle school. You're early.
I had a phone in 7th grade. And it's like, I remember,
as in, like, you were aware of the issues.
I was aware of just a lot of people were addicted to Candy Crush and like texting, right? There was always something there, but it was like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. People were playing video games for a long time, 4 to 6 hours. And I used to think, how can you spend so much of your time? And now I look at people's screen times. I mean, have you seen the screen times people have? It is anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, 9 hours. It's crazy. Insane that you're spending a whole work day just on your phone. It's terrible for you, and it rewires your brain in an extremely negative way. And honestly, it's been something I've been struggling with lately.
What are you struggling with the most?
Definitely, I would say a dopamine addiction, whatever you call that. I call it a dopamine addiction. I don't know what it is, but it's the idea, at least to me, it's the need for pleasure. Right. Pleasure in the sense of
release
of short form content, of watching content, Instagram Reels,
kind of mind release,
or like Netflix even, right? Just like get off, right? Like an escape. I want to escape, and I think that issue there is affecting so many of Americans today, and it's so real. Like due to the nature of the system we live in, right? Like literally like capitalism, right? And like you got to be productive, and this whole system that we live under, not saying it's bad, not saying it's good, it encourages optimization, so being the best you can, competition. I think a big thing in the job market is, can you do things that other people can't? Are you better than others, right? And so for this to work, you have to be a productive person. Like, you have to sit down and work hard. Like, that's the only way, right? And like, not really a bad thing, right? I think working hard is a good thing to have. The problem is these short-term releases. There's impossible to have short-term releases as a part of your daily schedule, like serious short-term releases. I'm talking about hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, like the need for short-term releases and to be a productive, effective person. It is very difficult to do that.
I agree.
Because it takes time out of your day, time and energy that you could be doing better things. And by the way, like something I think interesting is like the short-term releases are extremely addictive. I'm not talking about like people like to read in their spare time. People have a lot of like hobbies that they do. Those completely fine. Right? I'm not saying that you have to be 100% focused on productivity and optimizing yourself to be the best person for the job market. Like, we're humans. We're not going to do that.
Well, I mean,
some people will. And people who really care about their jobs and care about their future will. But like I don't think you have to. Right?
Well, in some way, like reading and hobbies are productive.
I agree. Yeah. So, a lot of them are.
Yeah, I mean, but we can't say TikTok's productive. And I think the primary reason why is because you have to, I think one thing that people have to understand is that we're all craving that release in a way, that like release from stress, release from like headache, and a huge surge of dopamine gives you access to that. But the thing is that the moments when you crave it the most are often times that affect your whole daily schedule the most. Like, it's not objectively that I spend 1 hour on TikTok, so that's 1 hour on my schedule, and boom, like we're good. It's more like I wake up in the morning, and that's my lowest. First of all, I'm probably sleep deprived. It's my lowest emotional, like mental state, where it's like that's when you feel the craving, and you associate the app with moments in the day that you ultimately start your day depleted. Like on the last podcast, 2 podcasts ago, my friend was telling me about a story he heard of someone who wakes up in the morning, he hits two hits of his vape, he scrolls on TikTok drinking a Celsius. And like, that's how he starts his day. And my question is, how many people start their day like that? Like most people start their day with just waking up, looking at their phone, scrolling. You already depleted your mind. Even if you spend only 15 minutes scrolling, the depletion of your mind will have impacts that last throughout the whole day. And you crave them in these weird moments throughout the day that it inevitably impacts your whole day, where your productivity is not just 1 hour or less, but it's like significantly less. And as you said, like the system that is designed to generate revenue, obviously. I think capitalism is great in what it's been able to create in America, but unfortunately there's these caveats inside of it where at the end of the day we want to prioritize making money as like the entity of the company's goal. And the only way to do that is to farm your attention. So the whole system that is requiring you to be productive is also killing your productivity. It's like this vicious cycle in a way, but it's weird, man.
I agree. Yeah, I never even thought about that, but you're right. Even 15 minutes, like let's say you're right about to fall asleep, right? Pull it out for 15 minutes, right? By the way, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
You're gonna pull it out for an hour, right?
Right.
You just doing that though is blue light into your brain. You're not gonna get as much sleep the next day, and the moment you wake up, you're not gonna feel as good.
Right.
And when you don't feel as good, what are you gonna want to do?
Nothing.
You're gonna want to do nothing. And so, what's a great way to you pop up the Instagram app again? Just crushes your next day. And I've been in this pattern of going to bed and waking up, doing something, right?
Addiction wise.
Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, terrible for you. And so many people are doing it.
Most people.
And the thing is, okay, so what I really thought about, and this is more like a philosophical thing, is like, okay, so there's the short-term pleasures and there's the long-term pleasures, and I really shouldn't. I think pleasures it's really like short-term pleasures and then
gratification
and then long-term like fulfillment, right? Right, and so like let's say like okay, I think a perfect analogy is like weight loss. I've always been a bigger, heavier guy, right? And losing weight has always been a priority, especially now on the rowing team. And people, and like you may ask me, okay, do you want to lose weight? Yes. Do you want to lose 10 pounds? Yes. Okay, perfect. Let's do it, right? Okay, so are you gonna eat this meal, right? Like, are you gonna like not eat that meal, whatever? You're gonna do the right things. Like I know how to lose weight. I've done it before. I know what the right process and steps are. I'll say, yeah, I'll do it. But all of a sudden, the time will come, and you don't do it, right? And like or you're hungry. It's 1 a.m., 2 a.m. You just watch a bunch of Instagram reels. Your dopamine is all messed up.
So the chips lying on the other side of the bed.
You see it there, right? Yeah. Just the other day, my roommate made 2 loaves of bread and I ate them all. He got mad at me. But like literally at 2 a.m., right? I was just hungry and I just watched a bunch of like Netflix or something like that. Like, in my opinion, the worst thing about these short form contents, and I talk about like losing weight because this is like what short form content and addiction can do to other things in your life, can impact other like goals that you have, right? It's like maybe it's hard to explain, but like the philosophical part, I guess I'll explain, is that like, in my opinion, when you indulge yourself in pleasures, and this can come not just from Instagram Reels, but any type of pleasures, right? You lose your free will, right? Because at that time, you might want to lose weight. You'll ask you if you want to lose weight. Yeah, I want to lose weight. Okay, will you do what it takes to lose weight? Yes, but then you don't do it. Why? Your free will, your want to lose weight. You want to do it, but yet you don't. And I think that because when you indulge yourself in all these pleasures, it's just like, fuck it. I don't care. I'm just going to I'm just going to eat this loaf of bread, right? Oh, it doesn't matter to me. I'll I should study, but I won't. You know why? And it's not like I know most people who, are ambitious know what it takes, right? They know what it takes to reach these goals. But when you indulge yourself in pleasures, it's just like, who cares? Just today, I just can't do it. I'm too tired, And that is scary to me, man. The fact that when you indulge yourself in pleasures unrelated to your goals, it makes those goals harder to reach. It takes away your free will, and that's scary to me. You ever think about that?
I have thought about it, and the way I kind of worded it in my mind is that you create a moment of weakness in yourself, right? And I guess a lot of it, it's like when you're fully conscious, with full certainty that you want to lose weight. But it's about those moments that create weakness, that take away your free will, and you lose that consciousness. And it's like for a brief moment, it's like you're put in this bubble of weakness. And I guess a big part of achieving your goals is like prevent yourself from entering moments of weakness.
Staying strong.
I think a lot of neuroscience shows that addictions always follow patterns. That's how your brain likes to work. It creates patterns with things. So most people that are addicted to someone will always do it in the same place at the same time. Like, for example, a lot of people have associated scrolling on their phone or watching Netflix with their bed, unfortunately, which is a terrible place you want to associate those two things, because then every time they're in the bed, that's when they go on the app. And some people will mention that they have this habit of they'll always like smoke the cigarette at this specific time at this specific day. So I guess a lot of prevention is how can I make myself never enter that moment of weakness. And I think it's difficult because, as you said, that you would never, if you're just going to bed at 10 p.m., you'll never find yourself in your moment of weakness at 2 a.m. about to eat those 2 loaves of bread, because you've never even entered that sphere of like
that's right.
The lack
you're
of
asleep.
free will. Yeah, you can't. If you're sleeping, you have free will in a way. So
the moment you stay up, the moment you make those choices. Yeah, there's so much to this too. Like your strength, right? Like your motivation, I guess. And part of it's also like when you get up and do something good, it'll be that small boost. That small like confidence boost to get you through the day. Like if you get up and watch Instagram Reels, your day's over. Like it's just like you've ruined your day. Like literally ruined your day. You get up and you eat oatmeal or something like that. Like, you get up and you take a shower and you get out. Immediately your percentage of success way higher. Now obviously the other thing you said is true too. Making your environment, creating a better environment for yourself. So like deleting Instagram Reels, deleting YouTube. So the thing about that though is even if you delete these apps, the thing that you're craving is dopamine now. So like this is crazy, right? Like these apps, because you've been on them for so long, at least for me, my experience, and I think this is experience for all like addictive chemicals, people who have done it, especially at a young age, is it's like you stop it, but there's always that like craving. And not just the craving for that specific event, but that craving for a release. It's ingrained into your brain, and it's very hard to get rid of. And I remember I was explaining this to my friend. He couldn't grasp it. He's like, yeah, just delete it. I'm like, okay, I delete it, right? But I still have that like want for dopamine. So what do? I go somewhere else and I try everything. I actually, at least on my phone, I there's a screen time password and my mom has it. Serious, right? So I can't do it. So I actually haven't been on these Instagram Reels for a very long time, but it doesn't matter. What I've realized is like it's hard. Just changing your environment is enough, because you have to change your environment to get rid of all sorts of dopamine traps. And for me, I moved from Instagram Reels, TikTok, all those things to like Netflix.
I see.
Netflix is on my TV.
Well, it's better.
Password.
What's better then?
It's better. It's a step. That's correct.
There we go.
And I think taking those steps is probably the right thing to do.
I agree, man. Yeah. So I had an idea about short form content. I just forgot it. Something specifically your story, man. What were you just talking about right before this part?
Like the having a dopamine craving, not just.
Right. So what I've noticed in people, I think I'm grateful that I think I kind of left it earlier on. And I think my big question is that deleting it works for some people, it doesn't work for some people. Like I'm gonna throw my friend under the bus here. He's gonna watch this because he makes my shorts for me. So
he what?
He makes my shorts for me. I feel a little bit evil, which actually is an ethical question I want to talk to you about. But yeah, I remember I hope he doesn't get mad at me. After he had a chem midterm exam weeks ago, he was so mad at himself that he did so poorly, and he made that decision right in the moment. He got back to his room and said, "I'm done with these apps." He deleted Instagram, deleted TikTok, deleted YouTube. I called him next day. I said, "Hey, I think you missed your short last night. Like, what happened?" Because he's supposed to release it. And he said, "I just deleted the apps. I'm done with it." I'm like, "Okay." And then
well done. Good start.
The next day, he's back on it.
Dude, like.
But here's my question though, because I did the same thing. Like I deleted TikTok going into my junior year of high school, and I didn't find it too hard to delete TikTok per se. I was never on Reels, never on YouTube Shorts. I was on TikTok, and I don't remember why I deleted it, but I was like, fuck this shit. And I deleted it, and it was hard because I'd find myself searching for the app sometimes when it wasn't there. And but TikTok gone, I never re-downloaded it, and I've not had TikTok since that day. Instagram and Snapchat, I deleted 2 months later, and I re-downloaded them the same day. But then I just kept trying, and I was able to
get rid of them. Yeah.
Well, then I went for 2 weeks, and I just deleted them, and I've not had them. So, and then I re-downloaded them a week ago, but it's like I have so much self-control that I've built from not having them for 3 or 4 years.
That
I'll open Instagram once a week for 10 minutes.
Yes.
And it's great.
Yes.
But my question is, why does it work for some people and why does it not work for others?
Like this to me is actually, I think if you were to talk to a neuroscientist who knows about dopamine, it'd probably be, many answers. But to me, it's a very simple answer, and it's your exposure and what age and how long. Right? Obviously I'll give an analogy, an extreme analogy to prove the point. If you give me heroin for 1 day and then tell me, okay, I need to quit, of course I can quit, right? Like obviously that one jab is going to feel great and it's going to be, oh my God, best experience, right? Like I'm just going to want it. But like at the same time, it's only 1 day. So I'm like, wow, that was a crazy experience. I'm never doing that again, right? Like don't keep me away. I know the dangers of this, right? However, what if you gave me heroin for 3 years starting in 6th grade and then told me to quit? Could I quit? No. No. It would be very hard. Very hard. Obviously, heroin is an extreme example.
But it follows the same patterns.
But addictive chemicals or addictive things to your brain, they're addictive just at different levels, just at like different amounts. But they still follow the same patterns, right? So your friend or your editor here probably has been on this app for a very long time. He has associated it with many things in his environment, like once again his bed possibly, or he's associating the idea of studying. This is true, right? The idea of I gotta study, bad feeling, right? Like a lot of people.
Real quick.
Yes, right. Like they think oh, okay, I gotta study. I don't want to do this. Okay, well, to make myself feel better, I'm gonna go on shorts. Right, I'm going to release some dopamine.
Or take breaks every 10 minutes.
It's insane. It's insane what I've seen. So I have a friend who always, not here to listen to him, always goes on Reels when he eats. Associated food with Reels, right? And so this is crazy, right? Me and him were having a conversation about addiction, about Reels, about like getting our shit together, right? And we go into the dining hall together, and it's me, him, and a couple other people. And without even thinking, he goes on his phone and starts playing like a shitty mobile app, right? And I'm like, I remember I was thinking, we were just talking about like quitting and about like doing this.
I think it pisses you off inside a little bit.
Well, like, actually it didn't. It
Okay.
didn't. It surprisingly didn't.
Wow.
Because what it made me realize, I guess, after that moment is like, humans are just people of patterns. We're just pattern machines, as you said. And like, this is what he does. When he eats, he goes on his phone, right? And so I told it to him. I went up to him, I'm like, well, look at you. You're like this. I went up to him. Said it in a very interesting way. I said it really interesting because I'm like, you are on your phone right now, and it's not your fault. Is what I told him. I'm like, your brain is just so wired for this, and he almost got like upset with me. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. Oh my god. Like he was like, but he realized it and he put his phone away. But I'm confident right now. I'm confident just because he did that once. He if he's eating right now, he's on his phone. And it's just because we associate these patterns, this idea of like, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because, like once again, it takes away your free will. You can want to quit. You can want with all your heart to quit. But it's like there has to be like, and, I think, you could talk about like addiction specialties, right? Like you need people to help you get out of the addiction. You need, the right environment. It's a lot more, but it just makes sense. Like it's crazy. It's serious though. It's
so
real.
Sad.
It is sad, man.
I mean, you can't control this thing.
Yeah.
It rules your life for you.
Yeah. So maybe do rowing.
Maybe. Hey, I'll say it. Oh man. I mean, at least not rowing, sure, but I feel like you need something. Like going to the gym's a good start. I feel like playing sports has been better for me in terms of mentally than lifting, just because I want to ask you this when I'm talking about rowing, but we never got to it. But do you feel like it's different feeling? Like when you're on the erg, you'll have a greater propensity to quit than when you're on the boat with 6 other people, because not only are you quitting yourself, but you're letting the whole team down.
That's correct.
And it's very much of an immediate effect than even like basketball or something, because the coach can put you on the bench, but it's like you were significantly reducing the whole like manpower of this boat with one person who stops rowing. So I don't know, do you feel like there was a something about having people around you was fueled you to push further than you could have otherwise?
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. And like this once again, like this is I guess a good, like, I think both these conversations intertwine, because if you're going to talk about like motivation, right? Like a great motivational factor is social pressure. It's great. It works all the time.
Beautiful.
It never fails you, man. No matter how much you don't want to do something, there's part of you, and I think it's like human nature. Like it's ingrained in us. We are social creatures. I'm not going to let someone down. And especially me. Like my personality, I'm not going to let others down. And like if you need me there to do a rowing event, I'm there. You need me in that boat, I'm going to be there. And it's cuz it matters to me. First of all, I don't want to let all those guys down. And I think the same thing goes for like any activity that you really want to do. That's why joining like clubs is a good thing. And I don't just mean club sports.
Any club.
Any club, anything. The moment you put people there, it makes your chances of success way higher. Way higher when you have other people doing the same thing as you. It helps you create those patterns. It helps you get to success. The good patterns. That's right.
Yeah. I feel like the people around you is a greater predictor of your success than like the things you do.
Yeah. I agree. You put yourself around like strong, hardworking, motivated students, right? Like people who care about school. You're gonna care about school. Your friends care about it. You put yourself around a bunch of bums, people who don't care.
Yeah. So the pattern system is almost evil and dangerous, and it's so sad.
But it's also good.
But it also helps.
It also helps you. That's exactly right.
I guess the real thing is like, do these people have hope, right? Again, like I would say yes, just because I guess I've seen it in my own life. I started using TikTok in like 8th grade. COVID was terrible. Like I'd sleep at 5 some days, 5 a.m. some days.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you can relate to that.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
And then freshman year was rough. TikTok every day. Sophomore year, I finally made some friends, but like I was still scrolling TikTok. The pattern was so ingrained. Every night, like 10 o'clock, are we good? All right, let's just do an hour or two of TikTok.
Yeah.
And then I'm glad I was. That's a real question. Like despite that, I was still somehow able to delete TikTok in one go, which I'm so shocked about. Maybe now that I look back at it, but then again, it's like okay, people like my friend, other people who I guess first they actually want to quit. They need to have that internal want. If they don't even have that, I feel like
it's over. Yeah, you have to want. That's
so
the
let's
first
say someone
step.
wants it, but they can't do it. How does someone fix it?
Yeah. So first, before we even say that, like why you were able to quit, why someone else was able to quit, it's just a lot of that's genetic. Just who you are as a person, your personality, right? But to say like, do you have hope? Of course you have hope. Of course you can do it. It's about putting yourself in the right. Again, all of the things we've been talking about in this podcast: the right environment, the right people, the right situation, time and place, and like putting yourself in those places in those right environments will help a lot. Like once again, in terms of environment, I was someone who's not strong enough to just delete the app. I'll re-download it. Right, so to the editor here, I seriously recommend, like, go to your mom, go to your dad, go to a friend, and say, put a passcode in, and set it for 5 minutes. I watch Instagram for 5 minutes. I hit that timer every time. I'm serious. I watch Instagram.
5 minutes goes by quick.
Oh my god, it's just like I'm like super scrolling. I swear, I'll just try to get as much as I can in. But like serious though, that once the time limit goes up, I press 1 more minute, I get the 1 minute, and I can't. Like I do not know what the password is. And so like that's once again putting yourself that environment. You know, I'm sure a lot of people can do that. It's easy to change your environment. It's like another thing is like, this is what my football coach used to tell me is like people never rise to the occasion. They fall back to their training. Like you'll never rise to the occasion and be like, I'm tough enough to not like there's Instagram Reels right in front of me. I'm tough enough not to watch it. I'm strong enough not to watch it. I'm gonna rise to the occasion. You will never do that ever, assuming you truly have an addiction and you truly like have that want to watch the Instagram Reels or the dopamine release. You'll never be strong enough. The truth is you have to change your environment. And a way of changing your environment is talking with friends, getting other people involved, having social pressure as we talked about. If you have social pressure not to do it, it's going to be a lot easier to quit. And once again, it only takes like a couple months to rewire your brain and to get into those habits. I never read Atomic Habits. Have you?
No, but
I've heard so much about it. So many people. Once again, I believe it though. Like I've read some things about it. You know, it's pretty obviously what it's talking about, right? Habits are key. We're people of habits. Put yourself in good habits, and you'll be in a good spot. So yes, of course, there's hope.
I want to push back a little bit on that. Changing your environment is easy, right? So you gave the example that sure, no one has the willpower and strength to just delete it and then never use it or put the screen time limit on. Like it's so funny when I look at someone's phone and like I see time limit on there, just say just 5 minutes, and just keep clicking on it.
And they keep clicking on
like,
it.
What's the
that
point?
does
Why
nothing. Why do you have it?
So you just feel bad about yourself every time you do it. But then I think yours is the next step because it's not you, the person in control. Like you're actually getting outside help.
Yes,
to help you
that's huge.
It's huge, and it's a huge first step, and that'll work for a good proportion of people. I think that people who are really addicted will find a way.
They'll find a way around it.
Let me give you an example. They'll be like, they'll lie to their parents and say, "Oh, mom, can you give me that password one more time? I just realized I have this like math assignment and like after like our teacher told us." They'll make an excuse like that, or they'll be like, "Well, you know what? Like I can go on YouTube. I can make a new account right now. Oh, YouTube doesn't even require you to make an account, or I can borrow my friend. Like if people are really addicted, they'll go on their computer. They'll find an iPad. They'll find a way. That's the thing when it's up here, because in the conscious setting, it makes sense. But in the realistic, you lose your free will, you'll find a way, and I've seen people do that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And so, like you can only change your environment. What you're saying basically is you can only change your environment so much.
Right.
If you really want something, you can get it. And I think you're right. But I definitely think if you get rid of enough of like that first, like the easy, I guess the parts where it's very easy to do the activity, right? Like maybe if you really love snacks. If you get snacks out of your house, you can't eat them. Like you can go to a store and go buy them, but if they're not in your house, it's going to be a great first step. Obviously, there's more. Like Like for people who are truly addicted, I am one of them, right? Truly addicted to at least dopamine, a release, an escape. That's something I've struggled with for a very long time. Like I'll always find something, right? And maybe the solution is to find something less bad, to just make slow steps. Maybe for people who are truly addicted to, because once again, I don't think they're truly addicted to reels per se. They're addicted to a release.
Right.
I think someone who's on like a very addictive chemical like heroin could switch to meth and leave heroin away, right? Because it's not about a specific drug they're addicted to. They're addicted to that release. I think it's about, for people who are really in the hole, and this includes me, and it's something that I've been working on a lot myself, going from short form content to Netflix, right? Like that's one step. Some for people who are truly addicted, you're right. There is no way to go from 100 to 0, and maybe I should have been more clear about that. Like, it's a slow process. Maybe you go from watching recommended YouTube videos. Now you have to go to the library, or you have to grab your computer and hide it in the bathroom, or something like that. If you have a roommate, you say hey, don't let me bring the computer in there, right? If you in that in my room, let's say, so you get rid of it off your phone, but you can still watch it on your computer, right? Okay. If you're and you say, roommate, make sure I don't do that. So now if your roommate's home, it's even harder. Just putting up more and more barriers and small steps. You can do it. Every human can,
A little bit more of an ethical question.
Oh, I like these.
I know you're big into philosophy, so I'll hit you with this. I think this is going to touch on a lot of different things.
Go ahead, bring it.
Capitalism to short form content to food and diet to the CEO getting murdered. I guess we could start with the CEO and then get back to here.
This is very interesting.
I guess first for context, with the United Health CEO getting assassinated 2 weeks ago, about 10 days ago.
Brian Thompson.
I think the biggest question that comes to my mind is a CEO responsible for corporate action? Start there.
So it's hard because I guess the big issue is we always want someone to blame, always, right? And so you can point to a CEO. I think out of a pie chart of the blame, they hold a pretty good amount. I don't think they hold 100%. I don't think they're maybe less than 10%, maybe. That's, for one person, that's pretty good. A lot of the blame goes on to shareholders and to the capitalist system that we're in, that we live in, right? But that's the biggest problem, I feel like. There is no king. There is no top man calling the shots. And so when it comes to the healthcare system, right? The murder of Brian will not result in massive change across our system.
Right, but I guess a lot of people who support this murder, it's kind of crazy. People yes, there we go. I think a lot of them are thinking that they look back at history and they see that this is how we get attention. These are movements.
Oh, well, so I don't support this.
Right.
But I definitely feel it's very interesting because it's one of my first time I've never felt so apathetic towards a murder. I look at this murder and I'm not smiling, but I'm also
fuck.
All right, he got murdered. So what? You know how messed up the healthcare system is? How many people? So there's a concept called social murder, and it's by some I think maybe Marx or someone like that. One of the communists, right? But no, this is something I definitely believe is to be true, and what it says is I'm not even gonna explain the definition. I'm gonna give an example first. So back in the 20th century, right? There used to be chimney sweepers, right? I still think there are chimney sweepers, and a lot of them were children. And you pay children less, child labor, right? And these chimney sweepers had a pretty high probability of falling down,
okay,
and dying, right? And the people who hired them, the manager class, the owner class, the bourgeoisie, they knew that they had a high probability of falling down chimneys and dying. And that's a brutal way to die. Oh, brutal way to die. To find a child at the bottom of a chimney, right, is absolutely disgusting, right? But that negligence that comes from the owner class, because it's profitable and it's effective. Having a child work is profitable because it's, they're small, they can fit in the chimneys, and you don't have to pay them as much. It's profitable, it's effective, but it comes with a huge risk factor and can lead to people dying at an early rate. And this unplanned early death that is caused by negligence is called social murder. And this idea is real. And I believe it to be real. And I think in the healthcare system, we see so much of social murder. The owner class, whatever you call that, CEOs, shareholders of the privatized healthcare systems, they know that delaying and denying these claims will result in more death.
Right.
But it's profitable.
And what choice do they have also?
The shareholders do have power.
Right.
Right. If 50% of the shareholders come up and say, we want to cause more, we want to help make our system slightly less profitable, but more effective. We want to do less denials, less delays. If the shareholders came together and said that, it would happen immediately. But the shareholders want one thing, and that's money.
Right.
So once again, who do we put the blame? Blame on the CEO, the shareholders, the system. All of a sudden, there's so many things to blame that there's no top. There's no one thing, right? And that once again, I could go on for this for a while, right? And that's the president gets blamed for a lot of things, even though it's not his fault. But that's a good thing, in my opinion. That's a good thing. Even though we are blaming the president for something that's not there, having something to blame, someone to blame, makes change. If you don't have anything to blame, then it's just the system. It's just the natural order of things.
This natural, magical.
You're just oh, well, of course the healthcare system delays and denies. It's profitable and it's what's right. I mean, what are we going to do about it? So you see comments, you see on the people's online response.
It's crazy.
The murder of the CEO, insane. I mean, it is celebratory. It is, and I don't think we should be celebrating the murder of someone, especially because technically it wasn't their fault. Right. Don't get me wrong, the CEO does have blame. There's no way you can say that. That CEO, all of the healthcare CEOs, they go home and to their staff, when they go to a staff meeting, they're like, oh, hell yeah. Do you know what we did today? We managed to somehow get more customers, more people into our insurance healthcare, and yet increased our denial and our delay and denial rates. If you can do those two things as a healthcare industry, billions of dollars is at your fingers. They celebrate that stuff. Of course they have blame. So when I see the murder of the CEO, I guess I'm pretty apathetic towards it.
I see what you mean.
Does that make sense?
I think that when we look at that chimney example, there's definitely a very clear negligence to that. I am the person who's coming here, and I'm hiring the children, and I know some of them are going to fall. And they're pretty close to the death in that case. When I was driving to Michigan for the first time, and me and my dad, 10 hours together in the car, and have a lot of conversations from Jersey we drove. And something we both agree upon is how messed up the system in America is around the food industry.
Oh,
and we talk about it all day.
Very messed up.
And we're both really into health and fitness, and we talk about diet and nutrition and basically how much misinformation there is, how much funding there is, and how messed up that is. And we kind of were silence, and we were driving down I-80 down through Pennsylvania, and he asked me a question that, let's say, come out of college, you just graduated University of Michigan, you have your whole life ahead of you, and Coca-Cola offers you a great position. And he asked me, would you take that position? And I sat with it for a minute, and I was thinking about it, and I said, after thinking about it, I said no.
You said no?
And I'll get more into it. And it's easy to say no when you don't have the position in front of you.
I would do it.
But here's the thing, you would do it, right? Most people would do
I
it. And
would,
maybe when
yeah.
I'm in that position, my answer would change. If that's only, they're paying me like what, 100K a year, software engineer, or just like whatever engineer, or marketing, whatever they're paying me. Okay, I'll be like, okay, I have a value system that I am strongly against these companies funding science research that's false. I look around the obesity rates and I look at people around me and how fucked up they are and how much they've lost their free will, and I hate it. But I'm like 23 years old. I just graduated. I got this position in front of me. That's really good. Most people don't have that. Okay, well, although I disagree with the company's values, I disagree with everything they do, and this entity that's not a human, it's a company. That company might have blood on their hands. Okay, well, for the time being, I'll enter this with the hopes that I can hopefully transition jobs to somewhere where I like the values of the company more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's every single person in that company. No one is evil. No one is like laughing up there. Who are we gonna poison today? Who are we gonna put aspartame in their system today? Who are we gonna fuck over today? Yeah, I see that grandma over there. Like, I don't want her to get the hip surgery. You know, I see that family over there that's crying on the deathbed. I don't care about them. No one's evil. It's all these people that are technically innocent, but in a way, are kind of put in a position where a tough decision to make. Where it's like, as you said, you would take it.
I would.
And it's like, at that point, it gets back into the other mess you created that you mentioned before, where it's like, oh, but then there's no one to blame. And it's like, how do we approach that?
So I like to, there's something you need to understand. The CEO of healthcare systems actively do celebrate. They actively like, it is a good year. They're like, we did a good job if we increased denial and delay rates and also got more people in our company. Like, for a healthcare CEO, it is like they know their job is
You
bad.
think so?
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
But you think they're like,
Unless they're lying to themselves or delusional. I'm sure that exists too. But if you're talking about some low level like some like worker at like a healthcare industry or a nurse or a doctor is in a system that's pretty messed up. But they're like actively helping people, right? That's a little different. But even someone who's like working maybe on the some finances of a healthcare system, lower level, takes a lot less blame than a CEO. In this case, and this is why I think I have a lot of apathy towards it, is what I just said. Like the CEO actively, like his job, his goal is to do that like thing that's
that's
pretty.
who wakes up and he puts on the board.
Right. So don't get me wrong, he doesn't take all the blame. I agree with you, but he does take some.
Okay. I mean, like, let's look at Brian Thompson as a person. He graduated, University of Iowa or something like that. He slowly rose in the ranks, and he had a family himself. And from sources, they say that he was a pretty good person.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's a nice person to talk to.
I don't think he's proud. I think it's a difficult business to run. I think it's a difficult industry to be in. I don't think he's just, like, sure, that is the ultimate goal. Like, you're looking at the equation. But it's like, I don't think he's like happy that people are dying.
He's not happy that people are dying, but he's happy when he does his job well.
Right.
In his job, he knows this, unless he's lying to himself. That is a total possibility. But I think if you were in that position and you do your job well, you know you're doing something wrong. You know you are actively committing evil, or actively doing wrong, whatever that is, right? Like you are actively hurting others, and he knows that. That's the thing. Like, I think there's a difference between like a lower level employee, like doing his job well, making, the company, right? It's a whole thing, right? You can't see it.
Right.
But the CEO is the one who manages all of this. Obviously, he's not totally, once again, this is the tough part. He's not king, right? Like,
it's not what? Sorry, king?
He's not king. He's not king of the company.
King, got you.
He's not king of the company. He can't be like, he can't just one day show up and be like, I want to be a good person today. I'm going to decrease our delay and denial rates to help other people.
Get out of here.
Immediately. He would immediately be fired, immediately be gone because the shareholders, the people they want as much money as possible. A lot of the blame goes on the shareholders. People will hold that money. But once again, it's just like he does hold blame. And if you don't think people may think he doesn't, he's just a guy in the machine. He knows. He knows when he goes home to his family, millions of dollars richer. He knows when he does his job well. He knows. He knows what's going on, and he knows what the system is doing, and yet he actively stays. If I was a CEO of a healthcare system, I would immediately ask to at least be placed down, and that's tough. Don't get me wrong, to forfeit millions of dollars in that case, but put me lower in the system or get me out. Because inherently doing your job is evil. It's tough. It's tough.
It's easy to say that when you don't have the position.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It kind of goes back to that free will thing, because it's like, in full consciousness, no one wants that job. But it's like, when you're addicted to TikTok in bed at night, you lose free will. When you get that much money and status, you lose free will.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I think I'd be strong enough. I fully believe it, because I would not be able to fall asleep at night.
I kind of agree with that.
Knowing that.
See, I'm closer to the food industry. I'm not running off about the healthcare industry, and I'm grateful we haven't faced problems yet. I know a lot of people have, and I know there's a lot of broken aspects of the system. But if I were the CEO of Nestle, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Yes, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. That's exactly right.
Insane.
Dude, Nestle.
Because I've read about what they've done.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I guess that is like go back to the question I asked, right? That maybe, sure, we can blame the madness of groups. That's what Robert Greene calls it, which I really liked. The madness of groups, that when you're in a group of people together, the decisions you make are different than the decisions you make.
That's correct.
And when there's all these factors involved, sure, shareholders have to blame too. But I think in order to make change, you're saying that if I take the role of CEO, then that's my responsibility. And it's like, I will, the president's a great example. They know when they're going in that position that the world will be screaming at them. And whatever happens with the country, war, whatever, the president gets blamed. So I guess it's like a shift in ideology that, like, okay, you're taking that position, fine, but it's like, you have to take the consequences too.
Which is correct.
It's weird, man. And I brought this question up because we were talking about shorts, and I'm like, I can sit here and talk about my podcast, how shitty shorts are, and then I make them.
That's not the same though. Like sure you could because once again there is an appropriate amount of shorts. Like you can watch an appropriate amount of shorts and be fine. If someone sits down and watches 15 minutes of shorts every day,
you can't do that though. Do you know anyone who does that?
I don't know anybody who does that, but I'm sure they exist out there. Actually, my dad watches about 10 minutes of shorts every day. 10 minutes. I watch him. He goes on again. He'll watch us more like essays about the war and about like he's very interested in the news and the world around him. But once again, he'll go on shorts for 15 minutes. I've seen him do it. And then he's just like, I'm tired of this. Shuts it off and puts it down. Like there are appropriate users. They're rare though.
Very rare. They're the outliers that, you know. I don't know.
And don't get me wrong. There's some shorts that do provide value. Most of them don't. But I think yours do. I think yours provide value because they give information about something that's interesting, and they allow people to know about this podcast, which I'm grateful to be on. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I think this podcast gives a lot of information to people and who want to listen, who's washing their dishes, who's, doing their daily task and listen to this, and it makes their life better. It once again, like there are good things in a bad system. There always is. So.
Yes, I guess so. Because that's the guilt. Because here's the thing. I love podcasts, and I'm very happy if I know someone who's listening to this in the car right now, or at the gym watching this, or listening to this, I guess, and then has it up on right by their stove as they cook. But I don't imagine someone watching my shorts in such healthy, happy. I imagine someone watching my shorts in bed at 2 a.m.
Right, but that's the point. It allows people to know that there is this thing, and so maybe when they wake up, instead of going on shorts, they'll pull out your podcast instead. Right, let's hope so.
Yeah, because you mentioned your dad who can very successfully go on for 15 minutes.
Yes, 100%.
See, for me, all the people I've met, they're either people who don't have the apps or they're people who spend 5 hours a day on it.
That's
I've
correct.
not found anyone in between, including
old
people, man. I've seen old people on it.
I have too.
It's so weird to me.
It's weird.
When did it start? I feel like in the last year, I've seen even my grandma on it. Where'd you get this shit from?
Yeah, and that's scary too. Old people are like children. They're vulnerable. Like they don't got much they're doing in their life. A lot of them. Yeah. So Fox News and Instagram Reels is a great combo.
Fox News and Instagram Reels, man. Oh man. We started this whole conversation with men's issues, and one thing you said is that men don't have the same support, right? And my big question was always that: do you think support would actually help men? Do you think the way men are with things like
Yeah.
therapy, like actually for the general public. I'm sure a
So-
lot of people can benefit from it, but do you think that's an effective solution?
There are effective solutions out there that help like men. Like they don't have to like when I say like help men, right? Like men need more support. I don't think that they need the same support that like women necessarily need, or like a, you know, like so you know like maybe therapy isn't the best option for every man out there. You know, I just think like because you know you could talk about biological or cultural reasons, right? Men might be more willing to be alone, right? More comfortable in being alone than women are, and that's cultural and biological, right? But like there are support like once again even like an addiction support, like to help people get out of addictions. If we were to increase funding for that, and I'm talking about like drugs, like even like the more serious stuff, including like Instagram Reels, but I mean more like serious drugs, right? Just by funding those programs more and by getting people to help more, you indirectly help men's issues.
That's true.
Right? So like it doesn't have to necessarily be like a focused like today we're gonna fix men only, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You look at the systematic problems that men are experiencing, a loneliness epidemic. Well, how do we solve that? Well, for one, there already are a lot of things like, you know, sports and stuff like that for young men to be a part of. So, you know, maybe encouraging sports more in school, or another thing is like male role models, and like, man, they're so rare. Like
You think so?
I think so, and I'll tell you why. You see, like my father's is a very good role model for me, as a male role model, someone who I look up to, someone who I want to be, someone who's successful in his job, someone who's caring, emotional, like who's confident, right? These things that I've always like, you know, I've taken a lot from him growing up, right? But like the male role models we see today, I do not think are good male role models. I'm talking about, well, like Andrew Tate. I'm talking about a lot of these online influencers who are preaching some things that just aren't good, really.
What are some examples?
Like for one, like I think this idea of like be a lone wolf is not a good mindset.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And like I agree that like sure men shouldn't be like again, and this comes to my like.
Is that what Andrew Tate preaches? Like, or is that what Andrew Tate preaches?
A lot of that, yeah. Andrew Tate also preaches misogyny. Some of that, obviously, he's actually become a lot less misogynistic after a lot of pushback. Early Andrew Tate, the real ones know.
Early misogyny. Like, what was it? Like,
early Andrew Tate definitely pushed that stuff.
Okay.
So right now, Andrew Tate at least is being charged for like, well, manipulating women and stuff like that.
Charged like in prison?
Yeah, like prison.
Yeah, I don't follow anything by him.
He's like he got arrested in Romania many times. Like, and what he would, I forgot, it's called like the lover boy method, and it's like I think what he would literally do is have like a cam girl, right, and then people could like talk to this cam girl.
Fuck.
And
what does that mean, cam girl?
Like a person showing off their
right.
So like, but people could like talk to them, but instead of like
virtually?
talk like type virtually
Fuck.
to this person. And what early Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate used to do is like text back pretending to be the girl, and like they know what a man knows what a man wants. So like, give me money, give me this, and so all of a sudden these people would pull out their wallets and give money. Don't say no way.
That's crazy.
Don't say, do you know how much money OnlyFans people
That's
make?
crazy, dude.
Of course they do. And that system.
There's definitely people out there who do that.
And that system, it's like, and the early Andrew Tate used to definitely push a lot of misogyny, still does, but like used to blatantly push misogyny. And obviously, like, I'm pushing the needle on Andrew Tate. Jordan Peterson is not really a good role model.
Why is that?
I mean, because a lot of his opinions are very his basic idea of like make your bed, like that's his whole idea, like his whole ideology. Like that's fine, that's great. You should make your bed, but he also pushes a lot of like very like I think like anti-abortion, like very just conservative viewpoints.
That doesn't mean it's bad.
And doesn't mean it's bad. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's bad, but it's also not great. Like,
I mean, what's the main issue with? I've read some of his books. I think he has some good ideas in certain aspects.
I think he does to some extent, like just his basic like philosophical ideas. I don't really know a lot about Jordan Peterson, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah.
But what I do know is he was, you know, like, see, this goes in like in my personal opinion at least, which is a lot of today's conservative viewpoints, by the way, aren't even conservative, like Trump or Trump viewpoints, right? But like you know, even like you know, when we look at like traditional conservative views, you know, some of them are okay, but today's conservative views, the Republican side is completely off, like completely off reality, completely detached.
Well, I think that's on both sides. There's a lot of messy stuff happening.
The left, let me explain it. Let me explain it this way,
Okay.
which is like, have you seen any of the Trump advertisements? Like,
I've seen both.
You've seen both,
Trump
right?
and Kamala, whatever.
Like Kamala Harris, her advertisements mostly was like, get people together, work together, and we can be a great America.
I've seen a lot of anti-Trump commercials too.
And of course, like, oh, Trump did this. You know, they all do the same thing. But you look at Trump's commercials, and it's like, and it's just so obviously fear mongering, and
That's
like
been in politics for so long.
yes, but
Nothing
when they
new.
talk about like we need mass deportations of immigrants, they're taking your job. The majority of people haven't even met an immigrant.
Right.
The people in the northern part of this country, and I'm talking about like, by the way, Mexican immigrants, like Mexican, like Southern America, like people in Pennsylvania are like, we need the immigrants out. They haven't even met it. They haven't even met an immigrant. They don't even know them. They don't know if they're taking their jobs. They have no clue. They're just like.
Well, even if they've never seen one, there's still like I can see that there's both sides. There's different issues that are. I think there's some fair points on both sides. Certain aspects like immigration, for example.
Well, like first of all, in immigration, both parties don't want to increase our border. Right. It is something, and it's which by the way is a little like I understand increasing our border, but in my opinion, what we should have is like getting people like a 6-week work visa basically.
Okay.
Or 6 month. I'm sorry. So because a lot of these people like they come here, they're just trying to work. Like the people.
Not everyone. I mean, there's a lot of people that are no.
Almost all of them, 90%, if not more, come to work. If I have met immigrants in my life, I have met them in my life. They are some of the nicest people. Nicest people.
Immigrants we come across. I've met a lot of immigrants.
Amazing immigrants. Yeah. Of course like there are bad people. Of course there are bad people. You know? Okay, let me ask a question. Would you be in favor of decreasing immigration from people from England, people from Germany, people from Norway to close the border off to those people? Say you can't come to this country.
I don't see a reason not. I don't see a reason.
You don't see a reason not. But yet we see a reason to close the border to people in South America. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, why is that? If the majority
there's been like huge immigrations of like also criminals coming in from certain.
There has been some criminals. Don't get me wrong, but the majority of immigrants, almost all of them, just come to work. Think about this. If you're an immigrant, if you're an illegal immigrant, I'm talking, right? What is your reason to commit a crime? The moment you commit a crime and you're caught, you're immediately deported and you have no chance to come back in. The people who are committing crimes in this country are like, I'm talking about like what do you call it? Like lower level crimes, not like huge financial crimes, because obviously that happens all the time in this country. But the people who are committing like theft, you know, what is it called? Like assault, you know, like those just lower level crimes are poor people in this country. And it's not due to race. It is just poor people. And like rich people don't commit those smaller crimes. Rich people commit financial crimes, right? They're not going out assaulting people. It's the poor people in this country. So yes, the people coming in might be more poor, but they actually have less incentive to do a crime. Less incentive, because the moment they get caught, they're immediately out. I have met a lot of immigrants.
Are they immediately out?
A lot of them are. If you commit a felony, you're basically out. Obviously, you know, you talk about like the Trump campaigns.
I think with the amount of people there are, it's been like a mess. Like I think that I've read statistics of the amount of people. Again, I don't know how much of these are real, where these sources are coming from, but I know there's like a huge degree to which there are people coming in. I don't know like how efficient the system is. There's like a huge millions of cases in the backlog. how efficient is the system of actually finding someone and taking them out?
Well, for one, we don't really let in most people. I can't tell you the exact percentage of how effective it is. What I do know is the majority of immigrants are fine. I'm talking about legal immigrants. Like, I don't know, I think immigrants are usually fine too, but like regular. But like illegal, majority of them are, because they just like think about like the family in Mexico, right? You're not making enough money for your family.
Mm-hmm.
You have 3-4 children, right? You come to America to work. Like, there are people who are shipping up drugs and doing bad things on the border, sure, but like the majority of people, like people gotta have some empathy for these people. Like, they're coming up to work. That is why they're in this country. Right?
And I'd be happy to have those people who are actually want to contribute.
Happy to have that. And almost all of them are. Almost all of them are. They're a very small percentage that aren't. But even then, like, I guess the whole point, because I don't just want to talk about immigration this whole time, because to be honest, I'm not very knowledgeable on all the immigration statistics and stuff like that. I'm knowledgeable enough to know like the basics, which is like the majority of immigrants aren't a problem. But like the truth is that like a lot of the right wing views, like totally like anti-abortion. Which, you know, we can argue about that, but once again, it is very harmful to women in this country. It's extremely identity politics. Happens on the left and the right. The right is the one who mostly focuses this. I mean, I remember like the debt issue, right? Like, we were going to default, I remember, and Republicans said we're basically using the fact that we were going to default to push their agenda and say, oh, well, I'm not going to save this country, because they had to increase our default or whatever, something like that. But they said, but before you do that, let's work on our issues first. It's not helpful. It's not productive. And the far right is so far right in this country that the left is actually being pulled with it. Mm-hmm. So this whole like political spectrum, you could look at it, like, we are so far away from communism. Like obviously I'm not saying communism is good. We are not even close to left. If you were to look at like a political scale, right, and look at center, like, our left is essentially like center, right, and our right is far right. Like, that is an accurate description on. Well, you can look at the issues and you can look at the people who are being put in. I mean, look at Trump's today, right? Do you know who's running the healthcare system or the cabinet pick for Trump? It's like RFK Jr. And he's like, his ideas on like he's anti-vaccine basically. Like, those are the people who are being put in on the Republican on the right side on like this issue. Once again, I'm not like like you can disagree on whether like you can agree with some of those far right issues. You can agree that maybe we should stop immigration, maybe we should decrease we should not have abortion for women, but you can't say that these issues aren't far right. You can't say that our Republican Party today isn't far right, because they are.
All right. I think there's a lot there we can go into. Let me try to go in order of some of the things I heard that I'd like to explore more. We did spend a portion of time on immigration, so might as well close that off first.
Yeah, let's close it off.
I think that I agree. I have a lot of immigrant friends, some that go to Michigan, and I think that people who are normal people who like have families and they want to support their families and want to come to America, get jobs, I'm all for that. I just think that, again, I'm not picking sides when I say that. I think that I see the perspective on the left. I see that they want to help these people out and help them come to America. And maybe we don't know the extent to which the problem with drug cartels.
See, that's not even true, though. The left doesn't want immigrants.
Okay, what do they want?
The left right now, today, is extremely anti-immigrant. We are trying to close the border actively. If Harris was elected, Harris was one of the main... She's literally called like Harris the border czar. She was one of the main proponents of decreasing immigrants. Immigration.
When I say about the left supporting him, I'm just talking about like what I've seen in the last.
What have you seen in the past? Yeah.
In addition, I think Harris used to support open borders before. I think she recently shifted that ideology as well.
She actually wanted a bill passed that would increase the border security. And Trump actually denied, the Republican side, actually denied it to use it as leverage.
All right, fair enough. And let's remove the left-right stuff. Like, in my opinion, what I see about the situation, whoever side approves of that, it's fine. I just think that there should be a better system around it. That we shouldn't just be like, because 90% of people are good, which is a huge percentage, we should let everybody in. I think that, okay, we want those people in here, in my opinion, not picking sides. I just think that a system where we can actually get people approved and come in legally and have those people here would be much more effective than saying that because 90% of people are good people, we'll let everyone in and have criminals come in as well. I think there should be a better system because right now what do we have? We have like millions
better
of cases.
system.
We have
Yeah, I
millions of
agree.
cases in the backlog. We don't even know like how many people come in. The statistics are kind of
Our
skewed, right?
immigration is terrible. Yes.
Terrible. That's all. I think that just because there's like an issue, just because there's an issue around it, I think we should like look to, say like what is the most effective way of actually achieving the goal.
I agree.
Right?
I
Which the goal-
100% agree with you.
We can both agree on what the goal is. Like actually have these people in a
Or
society.
work. You know,
Yes.
I'm not even necessarily in support of them staying in this country, becoming
Right.
citizens.
Like 6-week visa, as you said.
A 6-month visa would be perfect.
Now, in terms of your point about the right is very far right, okay, sure, and the left is in the middle, I think that's debatable.
Really?
I think that I think the political sphere in the U.S. is kind of a mess, but I don't know if we can very factually say that it's only the right's fault. I think that there's on both sides, the right is pretty far right. I think the left is pretty far left
No,
in terms of the individuals. Now, there's a lot of conservatives that are pretty moderate. There's a lot of liberals that are pretty moderate. And there's a few of those bad apples that go really far left and very far right.
See, what
I
does
don't think
moderate
it's
even
the-
mean? What does moderate even mean to you?
I just think that the less of the extremists.
What does
People-
moderate mean though? Because a moderate can mean like let's say I'm extremely anti-abortion, right? Extremely anti-abortion, but I'm for LGBTQ rights,
Mhm.
right? Am I a moderate?
Well, I think we can figure out what the definition of that is. There's
No, it's important because someone who is has extreme views on both sides equally.
Mhm.
Do you count that as a moderate, or do you count someone as a moderate who's just like
Right.
average is more towards the center?
I guess I would say people that are not extremists.
So okay.
Right.
Yeah. Because people think the other way. I think there are a lot of moderates in this country.
I agree.
People who are extreme on both sides or have a
Oh.
lot of extremist views.
Okay.
In terms of just like regular moderates, I think they're rarer than people think.
You
Because
think so? You mean people that the way I
because
define it,
I
or-
think by the way you define it, because
Just
a lot
rare.
of opinions I don't even think you would realize, like to be like I guess like anti-abortion to the extent of like what Trump is, to be in support of like Trump's plan of like mass deportations of people who have been living here for 10 years. That idea is extremely far right. Like that idea, it's not just like far right. It is a far right idea, right? And I think the left is, by the way, don't say the left is for immigration. You think it's true? It's not. The left is the left. Okay. The Democratic Party. If you think the Democratic Party is for they're not. They're right around the middle to the middle right. Like their ideas of immigration, they want to increase the border. That is a fact. Like you cannot deny that. The left itself definitely is, more increased pro-abortion. But the Democratic Party definitely is not. I think I should have made that more clear, right? It's the Democratic Party and Republican Party. So if there's left and right, there are people on the left, don't get me wrong. But the Democratic Party is in the center and the Republican Party is on the right. But even more issues too, like if you're anti-abortion, that is a right issue. If you think Trump should have more power in terms of like more power than the Constitution allows it to, so like
Like what kind of powers?
like
I've not met someone who believes in something.
like
that.
like right now if when Trump gets elected, when Trump gets placed into office, he is going to if he plays his cards right, he could manipulate basically every part of our democratic system and remove our checks and balances, and it wouldn't even be that hard for him, because
why would it be hard?
I'll tell you why. So he's going to have the House and the Senate. So immediately once you have the House and the Senate, this is fine. This is a normal process, right? When a president has the House and the Senate, they have more power because laws will be passed and that will be in support of like the left or the right or Democratic or Republican. And so laws will pass the House into the Senate and signed by the president, assuming that the president has both the House and the Senate, right? So he's going to have the House and the Senate. He has the judicial system. Judicial system in our in like the Supreme Court's completely messed up right now. Like in my opinion, 3 out of 4 of those 9 judges or whatever are Republican, specifically like MAGA. I remember what's his name, the African American one. I forgot his name. Anyway, irrelevant. He would like get like he got like a private yacht or like free vacations from like some of like the Republican backing organizations. So like a lot of them are corrupt in their office, and they are voting actively in support of like far right ideas. So when Trump's elected, once again, he'll have the courts on his side. In terms of like his cabinet, he'll be able to before he had his cabinet was traditional Republicans. And I remember in January 6th, he asked like the Secretary of Defense to use the National Guard or something like that. He's like, hell no. He said, hell no, right? He's like, that is completely against the Constitution, completely not allowed. That's not going to happen this year. I think Trump's going to put in people from his cabinet that are MAGA, not just traditional Republican. And he already has. RFK Jr. in the healthcare system is ridiculous.
Hey, what's your problem with RFK Jr. besides like just anti-vax?
I think, okay, you can't just say just anti-vax.
Okay, so that's a major thing.
That's insane.
That Tell me
you
about
are the head of the healthcare system, and you are anti-vax. I don't know a lot about RFK Jr., but that is actually insane. Completely. Vaccinations. The fact that the vaccinations got us through this COVID pandemic, it has been huge in terms of like saving millions of lives. How can you be anti-vax still today? And now you're the head of our healthcare system is insane. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. But that's not all, right? He's going to appoint a bunch of MAGA people to all of his like cabinet positions. And more importantly, if he really wants to, civil servants have protection. So there's usually government workers have protection against like a president. So like you can be a civil servant, leftist, working at a government job, even though the president's right, because the president can't just go fire all their civil servants. But I think there's like he can use like an executive order or some power that wouldn't even be that difficult for him, and inside like a loophole inside of our Constitution to make political enemies, basically, ostracize their civil servants. And those are the people, and those civil servants are very important because a lot of those people create like the unemployment rate, the graphs and the charts, like those are civil servants that do that. And like if you can get people on your side to be civil servants, you can lie through graphs, lie through charts, lie through all of these systems, give more false and fake information, and I think Trump really could do that.
Well, okay, there's a lot of ways you're saying that Trump has all these powers set up for him. There's all these loopholes and executive
that
orders
he could use to become more of a dictator today.
Right, he could use in theory.
I think he will.
Okay, I don't understand like what incentive you think he has to like. Okay, we can manifest. We can use this loophole here. We can do that executive order here. He's never showed any like signs of wanting to become a dictator in the 40s.
Yes. Are you serious?
Like what?
The January 6th was a perfect example. People were rising up, and he was actively in support of it. He made a phone call to one of his people, and said, like stay out, let it happen, let this uprising happen. Of course, he'd want to be a dictator. Of course, if Trump had the option to maintain power or to like have more power than he wants, he 100% would take it. That is like without a doubt, and we've seen it in history. I think I'm not going to fully go into like Trump's because he also, a recent Supreme Court case also came out that allows him to have more power. I don't remember what it's called, but
tell me about that.
It's like I don't remember exactly it, but like he now can, or any president by the way, can like not take responsibility because it's due to like presidential orders.
What does that mean?
Like if you do something wrong, like or something illegal, right? There's now a court case you can point to and be like, yeah, but this was done with my presidential status, so I can get away with it.
So you're basically saying that presidents are allowed to do illegal things.
Yes, and you can look up this court case
as
well.
What was it called?
I don't remember, but there was a recent court case that just came out that you can look into. Just look up like guardrail court case Trump, and I'm sure you can find it right there. Like there's a lot of things that definitely scare me politically that are coming up in the future.
Guess we'll see.
Yeah, right.
All right, man. Yeah, anything you want to close with besides politics? And on a good note.
Well, thank you for having me.
How about we talk about the boat of Theseus?
Oh,
Tell me
we'll
about
do
that.
that one as well. The last one.
Let's close it off with something.
Close off with something fun.
Yeah.
Boethius. It's the idea. Well, for the audience who doesn't know, it's the idea of like, you have a boat. And, I'm not gonna look at it like we'll just explain the analogy, right? You have a boat and it gets damaged, and you replace it with new logs, and you keep replacing it over and over again with new logs until every single original log is now placed with a new one. The question is it the same boat?
What do you think?
I think yes. I think it's the same boat. And even further to the question is like, if you were to build a ship with the broken logs, all the old broken logs, this new ship, was that the real ship of Theseus, or is the one that was replaced with new logs the real one? In my opinion, I think it is. And it's like, okay, this is actually, I have a better hypothetical actually, a better one. We'll go into this one actually, because I think it's because many people talk about the ship of Theseus.
Yeah. This one's more unique.
This one's crazy, right?
Check that camera.
If you go into, ready for this? Okay.
Ravenous.
Imagine a world where teleporters are here, right?
Okay.
They're here, right? However, there's a caveat. When you go into a
What's Ravenous?
Huh?
You said the world of Ravenous?
I didn't say that.
Oh, sorry. So there's teleporters in a world.
Yeah, teleporters. Okay. Right, so it has a caveat. You go into this teleporter, it creates a copy of you, and then murders you. Right? You are conscious, think about this for a second, right? Let's say you didn't know that it created a copy. Right? You didn't know that it created a copy and murdered the original one and kept the new one in the new location, right? You could continually go through that teleporter without even knowing. Because the copy would enter the teleporter, think, yeah, I just went through the teleporter. The one before...
Would they though? Because I usually they have the same brain.
Exact same.
Brain.
Literally the exact same. It is perfect. They think they just entered that teleporter. They have no clue. Does the consciousness like move to the new one?
Interesting.
So it's really interesting too, because for someone who doesn't know how the system will work, they could go through their teleporters their whole life without any problem.
Yes.
But if you knew how it worked, would you go in?
If I knew how it works, so I knew that my consciousness would transfer.
You don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah,
but I know how it works. What do you mean by know how it works?
Well, like, you can see other people go through it, no problem. Because...
And you talk to them and they seem normal?
Let's say you're the only one who... Because of course they would. Let's say you're the only one who knows how this teleporter works, right?
How does it work?
So remember, if someone goes in it,
yeah,
it creates creates a copy of you in the location and instantly kills you.
So you just disappear.
It kills the original you.
Oh, okay.
But like...
So for them, they'll have no idea what just happened.
They'll have no idea because the copy has the same ideas. This copy has the same like mental processing, like thought he just entered the teleporter just the same.
I see. That's tough.
It's tough, right?
I'd run away. Just thinking about it, because like, I feel like it could go either way. If the person dies, so let's say those two people exist simultaneously for a small period of time.
No, they do not.
Because let's say
it's like an instant thing. Like it's like a.
Let's say hypothetically they did.
Okay, hypothetically. For
the sake of this, if the person walks in, other person comes out, and for like a split second, there's an overlap. Or there's a 5 minute overlap. For a 5 minute overlap, our human brains can comprehend 5 minutes a little bit more.
Sure.
Does the consciousness get split, or is it in both, or is it in one? And I guess we scale down to a split second to like it doesn't even, because like what does it mean if you're teleporting if the first person disappears? You're not really, like, I guess you're duplicating kind of way.
You're duplicating, right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
I feel like if they'd existed simultaneously, the consciousness would be in the first person. But then again, like, it comes back to the question, like, what is consciousness? Because technically, they would still act and think the same way because it is all governed by the brain, and, like, emotions are all in the brain as well. So, technically, like, what really are you? What the question kind of asks. Like,
it's correct.
Like, what do you take with you?
Honestly, I don't know, man. It's a great question because at one aspect, it's like once again, the crazy part to me, I said it over and over, I'm going to say it again, just because it's just, like, so you could go through this teleporter if you didn't know how it worked your whole life, right? Each time you enter that teleporter, you die, but you don't know you die. Because a copy comes out in the next half.
They have the same like thought. They have the same brain.
Right, they thought they just entered the teleporter.
Right.
So they associate. They're like, hey, look at me. I entered the teleporter and was completely fine. When in reality, they might have just spawned into existence, and the old person died. Like your continuation just dies, even though like it's hard to explain. Even though it's an exact copy.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I would never enter the teleporter. Ever.
I would not. I'll stay away from it.
If I knew how it worked, if I knew that a copy of me would be created and I would die, I could never do it.
Here's the thing. I think anyone who hears it would say no because there's no incentive to.
But if you didn't know how it worked and you just saw it and your whole and you didn't.
I still think there's a fear. Like what? I don't know what that thing's gonna do.
Well, let's say you thought let's say you had no idea how it worked.
Right.
And you just knew, well, you go on to the other side, right? And then you walk in. You're like, okay, you take the risk. You're like, okay, I'm going to do it, right? And you come out the other end. And you're like, oh my God, this thing worked.
I think when humans take risks, it's always an incentive, right? Like technically, or any sailor back in the day, they set sail on the ocean to go. Technically it's a risk, right? They don't know what's going to happen, but they're hoping that the reward is that I'll find something, right? Any risk you take in life, you know there's an incentive behind it. There's no incentive for me to walk in the teleport, unless maybe the incentive is like, I wonder what's on the other side.
Yeah.
So that's the incentive. Like,
it doesn't even matter what the incentive is, man. To
like,
walk through a teleporter is an incentive itself.
Just see what happens.
Of course.
I might just toss like a ball.
A rock through it.
Yeah.
And when you toss the rock through it, right, the rock would appear on the other side.
Technically. Yes,
it would.
Because the other one would disappear.
The other one would disappear. You wouldn't know that, though. If you didn't know how that teleporter worked, you could go your whole life going through it. No problem. Interesting.
What are we?
I think we are a continuation.
What does that mean?
We are not a copy. Like once again, this and then once again, this does connect to the boat, right, itself, right? Like I believe even if you replace every log on that boat, it's still the same boat. The moment that but if you take the old logs and create a new one, it's not the same boat. It's a new boat because it's the idea of it's not the materials you're made of. Right? If it was the materials you were made of, then the copy would be the same. The copy is the same materials. But no, it's not. It's the fact that you are 1 second, and you're the same thing, like the same object. The moment you create a new object, another thing, this is different, even if it's exactly the copy. You know, I think we had a discussion at the dining hall a couple days ago, and you said something so obvious to me, which is like those two chairs. There was 2 chairs, right? And he goes up to me and he's like, those 2 chairs are different, even though they are made of the same material.
Fully identical.
They're fully identical, but yet they are different. I'm like, obviously. Oh my God, you're right. You're right. Yeah. But one thing is the same because it is gone through the same like. A thing is not a thing because of its materials. It's a continuation. It's a thing that continues to live throughout time or move throughout time, you know. Just because time affects something doesn't mean it's now something different. Even though it can change, but it's still the same thing. It's hard to explain. It's weird. It's weird. It's definitely weird.
You have to kind of like wrestle with it.
Right. That's correct.
I don't know. When you kept saying the word continuation, it kind of reminded me of like how cameras work. And I don't know, I think people are trying to figure out this 4th dimension a lot, right? That's like the point closest to what is time?
4th dimension of time.
I mean, think about a camera, right? If I took a video of you right now, it would look like continuation. It would look normal, right? Because you're having a conversation and you're in all these different motions and whatever. But a video is just a collection of photos, right? One video is just a million still frame photos that are attached together, so it looks like it's continuation. I wonder if life is a similar kind of illusion. Like, what if me right here and then me right here, next person, me right here, the next person second? Like, what if they're all like different in some way fundamentally? But it's like that's what we don't understand because it's 4th dimension. It's like, but what if like me here is different from me here like 2 seconds later, and like what does it mean that I'm different?
I don't know, man.
Kind of like a photo. Like I can take each individual photo and say it's a different photo. Because it goes back to the question: if all your cells die in your body and are reborn, like are you the same?
Yeah, I think you are.
I think you are.
Because you're the same continuum. But that's a whole. I don't think I have an answer to your question. Like in terms of like, I guess you're right. A video is just a bunch of still photos that makes it an illusion. It's an illusion. It's not real. It's not like a true continuation. Maybe time, maybe the now, the present that we live in is the only true like continuation.
And that's why people who meditate and are able to be so locked into this present moment can maybe slow down time in a weird way.
Yeah. So that's another thing too, which is like when you're younger, time feels so slow. But as you grow up, time like I guess like for me, it's like an hour when I was in 3rd grade was a lot. An hour now,
Well, we
snap.
just 2 hours. We just finished 2
Snap.
hours. Does that feel like 2 hours?
It's nothing. No. It's crazy.
And
Your perceived like idea of what time is also changes.
throughout the day itself as well.
Yeah, if you're
Because,
doing
like,
something fun.
let's say like I'm waiting in line without my phone.
Oh,
That's a long minute.
Yep, that's
Versus
correct.
like if I just pull out my phone for a minute, oh, it's a quick minute. So it's like time is also like this variable thing that
It's
can
ideal.
change throughout the day.
So yeah, I think it's true. Your perception of time is also different. So like,
I think that's what
do you
meditation
think
does.
do you think time is consistent though, or do you think like I'll give you an example, right? I have a perception of time, of how time goes, and you have a perception of time, of how time goes, and they could be different.
They could be.
Which one's correct? Like, is there like a standard like perception of time?
And that's a good question because that was a big question that people like Einstein people were trying to answer. Like, is there something that is
Right.
called universal time,
Right,
or is it just a
one
human
time.
construct?
Or is it just made up? Yeah, yeah.
Like Apple updates the iPhones and Macs constantly with the time that we refer every other clock to. You know.
Yeah, I guess the clock is, but even, I guess the clock would be accurate, but like our perceived idea of the clock is also
Right.
different.
Because when you know how time can feel different to yourself fundamentally, like the idea of like standing in line versus scrolling your phone, very clear. That's when it starts to raise the question, like, do people perceive time differently?
I think they do.
I think they do as well.
I think they do as well. People experience colors differently.
That's true.
So, you colorblind people, right? But like even just regular people, it gets to the idea of like, if you paint a wall red, we both know it's red, but you see my green.
Well, that's a great example because I'm red green colorblind.
You red green colorblind?
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy. That's funny. But like, yeah, let's say it's something you can see. What colors can you see?
I can see red and green. It's
You
just certain shades of it look very similar.
Can you see like blue and yellow?
Yeah.
Blue and
You
yellow.
can see all
Okay.
of it, yeah.
So I paint like the wall blue, right?
Yeah.
Your idea of blue versus my idea of blue
Could be different.
could be a whole different. You could be seeing my yellow, and I could be seeing your blue.
Well, yeah, we don't know that because we just color it down and see that that's. But that's what I'm saying. That's what you're saying.
That's what we're saying, right? Exactly.
I
But that's
like
the
that. I
same thing
don't
with
like
time,
that.
right? I perceive 1 second to be this way.
But the thing is, we can describe
You
color,
perceive.
but I guess what dark means is different to me than you.
Dark could mean. Think about that for a second.
But like we could also refer to darkness outside. Like that's definitely not bright to you.
Yeah, but like,
I think we all see the same color.
you think?
Yeah. Just because we can describe color.
I'm
Like how would
not
you
so
describe
sure.
yellow?
It's bright, except for when you say it's bright, right? Like, that could be dark.
But like
Like, that
we can
could
look
be your
outside.
dark.
We can look outside and say during the day it's bright. And the sun, we know the sun produces light.
Right, but that sun, let's say imagine the sun to be blue in your head,
Right. Okay.
right? So you associated that blue with light.
Right.
So, or like a dark blue, right? So you associate that dark blue with light because that's
more
what light
saying that-
is to you.
Light and dark are not really the color though. They're more just like how visible something is.
No, but yellow's light and blue is like yes, you're right, but like if I paint like a yellow, right,
Mhm.
and I paint like a dark blue, both are very visible. Which
Yes.
one's brighter? Are they
Well,
the same?
what is the
bright?
definition of brighter? We use like the sun as a good example indicator of what bright means.
Bright just means okay, because once again, like I guess technically what bright means is like intensity.
Right.
So like the sun is bright because it's intense,
Uh-huh.
but you could see that as intense blue, and I could
Yes.
see that as intense yellow,
Yes.
and it would both be bright to us.
But we say things like black and white, we can say fundamentally could be different because dark and light.
I think people see dark the same
Why is that?
because nothing makes sense. Because black black is essentially a representation, an illusion of nothing, right? When you see the color, people always say like the blackest black. People are always trying to come up with. If you can look this up, right? Oh, this black is actually the darkest black, and it absorbs 0.0001% of light, right? Something like that, right? So people look for like the darkest color, and I think this is one more question. This is a great question, by the way. But before I get into that, I think that darkness of nothing, of black, it's sort of like when me and you close our eyes, even though you're colorblind and I'm not, we both see the same thing. It's just yeah.
How do you know that? Like, do you think a blind person still sees images when they close their eyes? You mean the darkness, you mean?
That was the question, right? Because you should think about this. Does a blind person, okay, when you close your eyes, right, do you see black?
Yeah, black. And
you see black. Obviously, you see the weird,
the weird images,
your brain.
I saw construction code.
Yeah, exactly, right? But you see black, right? Does a blind person see black, or does he see nothing?
What does nothing mean?
Oh. See, to me, when I was younger, nothing was black. Emptiness was just it's just black. There's I'm talking about I guess nothing. What does in this case what does nothing mean? I'm really defining nothing in this case, because nothing in terms of just ask the question, what is nothing? Well, you could say space, just an empty 1 cubic meter of space, but 1 cubic meter of space contains a little bit of molecules, just a very small amount. Get rid of those. That's nothing. Well, the 1 meter cubed of space is something. So then you get rid of space, and then you're also getting rid of time. You don't have space, you don't have time. They're interrelated. So then you have a 1 meter. No, it can't be 1 meter. It's space. There's no space there. So that idea is true nothing, in my opinion. Incomprehensible. To not have no space and no time. It's comprehensible to have an empty space, no molecules. Incomprehensible to have no space and no time, right? But in terms of nothingness to a blind person, does he see black, or does he see nothing? Maybe you know how we feel we have eyes, we feel this sight is right, we have the field of vision. Even when you close your eyes black, you still can imagine your field of vision. Right? Maybe you can still imagine it.
Ben's right in front of you right now. I can see him there. Yeah.
It's very hard, even when you close your eyes, to imagine the field of vision to be 360. Close your eyes and imagine you see everything in the room. It's kind of weird. Well, you can, but from a third eye view. No, I mean from your view. So now you got a 360 camera. You can really only, I guess if you have you seen 360 footage before?
What do you mean? VR?
Close to VR, but there's a GoPros and some cameras can they have 2 lenses, and they can see everything at once.
In front of them. Or even behind them. What does that even mean?
It's called a 360 camera. I have one actually.
How do you see everything at once?
It's got 2 lenses on the outside, so it's got 2 lenses here, and they're.
But how does it put that in one photo? Okay.
Yeah. So how do you put that in one photo? Everything's warped, and it's like have you ever seen a panoramic photo?
Yeah.
See how you can see more, and everything's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's just a giant panorama of everything around it. But so I guess a blind person would see nothing. They wouldn't even be able to imagine a field of vision. It's
I guess nothing. Here's the thing: we define nothing as black. I wonder, first of all, do blind people completely can't see it, or do majority of blind people see extreme blurriness? That's another question.
Okay, when I mean blind people, I mean blind at birth,
Yeah, but even if they're blind at birth, whether they're blind at birth, but their blindness is just blurriness. Extreme blurriness.
And extreme blurriness is not, total blindness.
Is that really a thing then?
Yes.
How do we know?
Of course.
How do we know?
You can look into people's some people are just missing cones. They literally have nothing there.
Okay.
In that case, there's no way they can perceive anything. There may be people who have dysfunctional brains.
Right.
Right. In that case, it'd be harder to tell.
So there's people who are total blind.
There are people who are just born. What if you're born without eyes?
Yeah. There you go.
Like that would be a perfect example. I'm talking about that type of blindness.
Okay, there we go.
I'm not talking about the blindness after 20 years.
But yeah, that's different.
Because I think they would see black.
Because they also have memory of like.
Because they know what it was
yeah.
like. So it'd be like, yeah, it's basically like when I close my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when I close my eyes, I see black.
What do you see when you're sleeping? You don't see black. You're just not there. Well, actually, that's different, I guess.
Well, what do you perceive you're seeing?
Right.
Is a better question. Because you perceive a dream.
Well, when you're not dreaming, you don't dream the whole time.
So when you're not dreaming, you're not conscious, so you're not perceiving anything.
So you're still perceiving, but you're
Ooh.
perceiving in a different way.
See, that's a different thing.
It's a different, yeah, I realized. Because you're not really, your brain function is low when you're sleeping. Your brain function is still heightened when you're blind but awake, but it's just different.
Your conscious brain functions.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's weird.
I was having a conversation 2 podcasts ago. What do deaf people think in?
What?
Deaf people, do they think in pictures? Or maybe sign language? Do they think in terms of sign language? 'Cause they don't have
I think a better question is, how do people think?
in general.
What do people think? Like, do me and you think differently?
Yes, 100%.
You think so?
100%.
How do you think? Do you think in images? Do you think in words?
Well, I think when I say most people think differently, most people think in words, but there's so many intricacies in their method of thought. Like, there's like many ways to think: pictures, images, words, the languages. But it's really a spectrum, like how much of this do you lean into, how much of that do you lean into. And also, like, if you just do any introspection, you'll realize like there's so many weird patterns in your brain, and everyone's different. And everyone plays like weird games in their brain. It's weird.
Do you want to hear something crazy?
Tell me.
I know someone who can't imagine. That was probably the craziest experience of my life, meeting this person. So there's like 1% to 2% of people on the planet cannot imagine things. So like imagine a school bus in your head. Can you picture it?
Yeah.
Some people can't do that. So I went up to this girl, and I'm like, so you can't imagine? She had the problem. I said, imagine a school bus. She closed her eyes. She goes, what does that mean? I go, think of one. Like close your eyes and then see it. And she goes, I can't do that. And I'm like, so then how do you? And crazy enough, she also, I mean, I don't know what's wrong with her. She doesn't. It was maybe normal. She doesn't have an internal dialogue.
Is that possible?
Yes, there are people that live without an internal dialogue.
I thought it'd be very peaceful.
I don't know, but like that voice in your head. So then I asked the obvious question: how do you write? How do you write an essay?
The words just come out.
The words come out, like ChatGPT, type thing. Like you plug in a thing and it just comes out. And when she says, I'm like, okay, if they come out and you can't think of them, so then you have to write and speak at the same time? She goes, yes. She cannot write without moving her lips and like talking.
Like whispering a little bit or something.
She cannot write closed eyes or like closed mouth. Wow. Like people's brains are so different, man.
So weird.
Isn't that crazy?
So
like asking,
weird,
like I'm like it didn't make any sense to me. How can you live your life without
Thinking, bro.
thinking? Yeah.
Like, how do you operate?
How do you operate? And some of these people are sometimes actually really like smart too. Like they can like go to great
Well,
colleges.
because they have the same brain. It's just like a matter of like your conscious part of it accessing it. You know?
Yeah.
That's what the internal dialogue is. It's like this like back and forth, like I'm on a phone call with this other part of my brain.
See, okay, I have a question for you. I want you to answer.
Okay.
I have a question I want you to answer. What does smart mean?
I've defined intelligence before.
Define it.
When I think of intelligence, I've read about this concept of multiple kinds of intelligence. And I think it's really how your brain is wired. I'm not defining it clearly here. I know I'm being weird. But I'm hoping I can get to a definition by explaining to you what I think about when I think about intelligence. Everyone's brain is wired differently. And by wiring each person differently, their general thought patterns in the day are different. Right, so there's a book, Frames of Mind. They outline the 5 main ones, but I'm convinced there's hundreds. Right, so just to give an example of like what am I speaking gibberish right now? Frames of Mind, types of intelligence. So the main ones that people typically lean toward like one or the other. bodily kinesthetic intelligence, logical, mathematical intelligence, linguistic intelligence. And this is not just like what you're good at, because like I can probably go to school and do math, history, and English to be like, oh, I like math the most. That is not what logical mathematical intelligence means. It means that when you approach problems, you approach every problem in this way. When you think about life and you have your internal dialogue, it usually follows this kind of pattern, right? Like musical intelligence, spatial ability. It's more like their brains operate. Like for example, someone with music intelligence probably thinks in patterns more. Someone in mathematical intelligence probably approaches their problems in a very logical way more. Someone with bodily kinesthetic intelligence kind of has some kind of weird way where they can like understand their whole body and like they can like do movements and like it's just like yeah, that makes sense that most people can't do. Like they have this weird mind. I think that intelligence is really a wiring of your brain. I wouldn't say like one person is more intelligent than the other. I just think that like intelligence is like a representation of the wiring of your brain.
I have a question, a pushback, which is, what if someone has the same thought process as someone else, maybe identical twins? So they both think in
I don't think the identical twins have the same thought process.
Or at least, well, imagine, hypothetical,
Okay,
what they do.
fair enough.
Exact same. Do you think there's this idea of runtime? Which is one, even though they have the same thought process, one person can do it faster.
Like what kind of process? Like a problem, like a math problem.
Like making a connection. Have you played Connections before?
Yes. The New York Times.
The New York Times Connections.
I love that game.
Like what if two people both solve it, one person solves it faster because they just make the connections faster?
Yes, that's possible.
That's possible.
Are you
100%.
when you say that they're exactly the same? Would you say exact same?
They go through the same processes in their head.
Would
So
you say
like,
they were nurtured the exact same too, or no? Just genetics.
just like, don't even think about like this hypothetical too much.
Okay.
Just think about two people who go through the same logical process. Maybe they think logically, because that's a very simple way to think about it, right? So they go through this problem and they look at the same words at the same time. And one just like at some point when you're playing Connections, you have the aha moment.
Right.
You're looking at the words, you're thinking, and these two people, hypothetical, have the exact same thoughts. They're thinking, okay, Atlantic, they're thinking seas, they're thinking water, right? And then they look at bee and they're thinking of honey and something. Like they're doing the logical, they think there's exact same thoughts. One person does it faster.
Yes.
Does that person who does it faster more intelligent? Is the idea of runtime a real thing?
Well, I don't know if runtime is a good. I would say one person is quicker and better at solving this game than the other. I don't know if that means he's more intelligent than the other.
You don't think there's this idea of people think things faster than
Yes,
others?
I do agree with that. And I would say he does think that faster, and there's some word we can describe him with that's like, he's better at solving this game than him. And general intelligence, you can't determine that based on like a game.
See, I have a friend in my class who just picks things up faster than I do.
Yeah. That's an
looks,
intelligent style.
He looks at something, and he just picks it up. And it takes me usually a little bit longer. I have to look at it and think about it. He can just look at it, and he just makes the necessary connections faster than I do.
So you think he's more intelligent?
I think he is 100% more intelligent than me. He looks at it like, and I think a lot of it maybe has to do with memory as well.
Also, there's a lot of factors at play. Like with that game, it's like, I guess you're saying in a general case, right? But if I was like earlier reading about something that happened to come up in the game, I'll probably see it quicker to someone else. Or I was having to think. I think there's so many factors that maybe his brain is just wired better than yours. Or
wired more efficiently.
But I would say someone who, let's say, reads 200 pages a day would probably see more connection than someone who doesn't, as an example, right? There could be a million factors of why he could solve the game better than you. I don't think the only one is that his brain's wired better.
You don't think it's possible, though?
I'd say it's a higher possibility.
For two people that are identical, basically, and one person wired faster. You
don't
think possible. Speed is a thing, though?
It is a thing. I agree, it is a thing.
And do you think that's part of intelligence or not?
I think it is.
So you think so not only do we think about you think that there's this 500s, right, of mindsets, but there's also another factor, which is how fast you can process things.
Yes.
So that's interesting. And something I've thought about is like, I remember I have a friend, not name dropping him, right? Well, actually, I'm not even going to say this. I'm not even like a friend. I've known people in the world who, is someone who I dislike, at least when I was younger. It turns out he was not very smart. And hold on, let me say that again. He wasn't, he was slow to pick up on things.
Right.
And I could see,
Like not intuitive.
and I could see it. Like we'd see the same thing, and the questions he'd ask, the thought process he'd go through, I would understand it and he wouldn't.
Right.
Right? It's so obvious for me, looking at that problem, to see it.
It could also be experience and that.
So my question is, though, if there's someone who I view as below me, at least in terms of intelligence, or at least in terms of like picking things up, there has to be someone above me.
Yes.
Has to. There are people who are significantly more smart than me, to the point for like the equivalence of me to this person and me to this smart person.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Like, what do you think a very smart person sees? And I'll like think about someone who maybe not relative to me, but relative to yourself. What do you think a smart person has on you? Is it their, yeah, like what do they have you beat? Is it their runtime faster?
Oh, so when I think of someone smarter than me, like, why do I think they're smarter than me? Or like,
And why are they smarter than you?
why are they?
Like, why aren't you them?
Genetic?
No, but like, why? Like you're obviously trying. It's a very
It's not
hard
only about how much you
explanation.
try.
It's a very hard explanation.
Well, I
to
think
do.
back to your old question. I think people are more smarter than others.
Yeah, but like someone sees the same thing you see,
Yes.
and you don't pick it up. Why don't you pick it up? Like you're a concept at something, right? You read the same thing. You like, this is something that I've experienced in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I've watched the same lectures and done the same homework, and yet someone else gets a higher score than me. How?
Well, I think there's 100 factors that affect the score. But let's focus on your brain
Sure.
to start, right? How do we learn things? What is neuroplasticity? It's, first of all, from the age of 0 to 28, your brain is creating neurons, right? And at the age of 28, they stop. Something like 28 for men. No more neurons are created after that. Then you can still learn after 28, but it's just a matter of the connection between different neurons will help you to create new connections, which help you learn new things, right? Which, since there's billions of neurons up there, you can still learn a fuck ton of stuff, right? I think knowing a piece of information is really just about how neurons are connected in your brain. So when you talk about, I watched these lectures and I did these homework assignments, and it's not, all our brains are not the same, where it's like it's like saying that because I wear the same shoes and you wear the same shoes, like, because they're fundamentally the way it's designed, like, we'll like run at the same pace or something. Like, it's like everyone's brain is different fundamentally, and like the rate at which they can the things can connect, and it's also a lot of randomness in it. Like, why do those neurons connect, not those ones? It's like we don't know. I think there's a genetic component to that. There's also a huge nurture component to that. Like, what have you seen in the past? You know, how much previous knowledge do you have? What is your intelligence style? Like, are you better at picking up patterns, or are you better at kinesthetic stuff? Or are you better at logical stuff? Or are you better at linguistic stuff? Or are you better at spatial stuff? Like, there's millions of shit that's going on. To why I read the lectures, and you watch the lectures, I watch the lectures, and we both have a different score.
It's just crazy to me, man. Because it's like, I can't comprehend someone else's mind. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But like, I can also comprehend someone's mind who doesn't understand it, sort of.
But not really.
A little bit.
'Cause sometimes you're like, why doesn't he see it? You know?
I guess that's a good point. That's a good point. I've had that happen where it's not like,
It's like so obvious.
it's so obvious. Like, when you truly understand something, it's obvious.
Right.
So then how come I don't understand things other people do? If it's so obvious. Does that make sense? Like, this should click at some point. Like, it's
I
just
think
like,
it does. It makes sense.
It makes sense. You got it? Is it now obvious too?
I don't know if I can say all that, but it's like I'm picking up, like, it's just, it goes back to the thing that we don't really know anything and how anything works. It's just weird.
So frustrating. And it can be frustrating, actually. Like, you're like, because once again, you watch the same lectures, but someone else picks up. Or like I think it's got to be so many factors. It has to. Like, because one thing I realized is memory.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Memory's weird.
like I have like, once again, my friend in my Russian class. I'm gonna take Russian.
Slavic.
Russian class. Yep. Ruski urok. He will like, there'll be a slide of like 10 words. Right? I'll remember 2 of them. Remember how to say them, how it's done. He will remember like 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Maybe that's like that, having that memory gives you a huge advantage. Like maybe
To learning?
maybe he's making the same connections I am,
Yeah.
but he's remembering 3 times as much as I am. That if I remembered 3 times as much, that would be huge, for sure. Every concept, because you forget concepts, right? If I remembered more, I think I would do
And
better.
that's a part of it, for sure.
So
It's not the only
maybe it has to do with his memory. Maybe it is runtime. Maybe he just like when he looks at something, it just like the connection, the neuron just fires faster. He just sees it. Like it's so weird.
Like okay, me and you, do we run at the same pace? We don't run at the same pace. If you tried full max speed.
Running is so obvious though. Like maybe we could look at stroke length, we could look at height, we could look at power in the
It's
muscle.
all different. Everyone's different. I don't see why the brain is different in that way. Like why do every single part of our body and our speed and our ability
Everything is different.
So why is our brain
brain
It just follows like everything else. Like your arm is longer than mine, so my brain neurons connect faster than yours.
But like running is such an obvious thing to comprehend, right? There's a start and there's a finish. But when it comes to like understanding and learning, like I guess
What if we measure like max speed versus like your ability to, the time it takes you to learn the subject versus like your max speed running? Like those are things you can kind of compare. It's like you can say that people are better at this.
Once again, we talked about this, right? Learning is different. My definition. Okay, ready? We're going places with this conversation. Okay, there are people. You remember doing the SAT, the ACT, applying for college? It sucked, right?
Oh.
Terrible, right? Terrible experience. There are people who can go onto the English ACT part, the part where you're learning about not the grammar, but like actually the grammar as well, the grammar and the reading portions. They can get a 1,600, 100% on that part, 800, right? Without knowing English.
Really?
There are foreign people out there. There are people in foreign countries who study the ACT,
Oh, they study it?
cannot speak a lick of English. But when they
It's a
read
game,
this,
kind of.
they can see the patterns, right?
Because they design the test in a very pattern-like way.
Here's my question. Do they understand it or not? No, they don't understand
They
it.
don't.
Just because they can get 100% on this test doesn't
That's how I
mean they
approach like
understand
the comprehension section.
So here's my question to you. Is understanding being able to apply? Maybe someone who's great at English, just terrible on the SAT, cannot take the test for his life. Or someone who terrible at English can do great at the SAT, great at like applying his knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Is intelligence the first or the second?
It's both, man.
You think you have to be able to do both?
Well, I guess, what do you mean by you have to?
That's like, I don't
Like,
know
is
how to
there like a
explain it.
rule where saying, oh, you have to do that to qualify?
Like what is like is knowledge the idea of like the understanding the underlying idea, or is it the applying?
It's both. Like, I think that intelligence, right? I can spit facts at you. Like, okay, explain to me how mitosis works, right? We can both spit out facts, right? Okay, I do like a heart surgery, or I mean, they're probably not connected, but as an example, like, I don't know about it that well. Like, you can know the whole anatomy of someone's body, and you can do a heart surgery. Someone could be really good at knowing the facts, and could not know shit about how to do a heart surgery.
Yes.
They can even memorize all the steps to doing heart
Steps
surgery.
to do it.
Yeah,
They can
there you go.
literally know what to do,
And they won't be able to do it.
and they won't be able to do it.
And some people might not even know the steps and they can do it successfully.
Yes,
because
that's
they have like
correct.
this weird like ability to understand like, oh, this
Same in
feels good, I
rowing.
feel
Same
this
in
way.
rowing. I don't know everything about the rowing stroke. I can row,
We can do it faster than anyone else.
and I just know how to do it though. Like I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I can just do it.
It's weird. So I think intelligence is both. And I think that's why when I think of intelligence, my definition of intelligence is like the wiring of your brain. It's like a noun. It's like a state. It's not like a score. For me, it's like a state of being.
So you don't think there are people who are more intelligent than others?
That's a good question because
If it's just a state and it's not a
you're
score,
right.
then there can't be.
I feel like I would say it, but then it doesn't fit that definition, right? So
Maybe it's both. Maybe it's a state, but also like once again, you acknowledge runtime to be a part of it.
I do. Yeah.
So maybe runtime is important.
Yeah. Maybe
It's-
we think we need more words for this.
It's so weird, man.
'Cause we can measure each individual one, but there's no formula that puts it all together.
It's so weird. Thinking about like, and this raises the question Have you heard of like this AI and shit like that? Like it's coming out and it's doing crazy stuff. It's able to solve these tests, but does it know what it's doing? Is it simply?
It's like a consciousness question.
Yeah, it is, but again,
Like when you say this mic knows it's picking up audio.
But like a person who doesn't understand English, who's able to do well on an SAT or ACT, that's the same as ChatGPT, right? Or as an AI.
Why would it be the same?
Because an AI doesn't know what he's doing, but he knows how to do it.
Just like doing it.
This person doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know that he's putting an English. He knows he's putting an English word, I guess. So I guess he knows that. But he doesn't know why he's doing it. Like he knows why he's doing it because he's matching patterns.
That's what ChatGPT. Yeah. Okay.
So it is similar.
Yeah, I guess we're not thinking about consciousness because obviously the person who is solving these puzzles and patterns is like, ha ha ha, like I'm figuring this out. That's a consciousness question. Like ChatGPT is just like doing what it's made to do. You know? But again, intelligence is not consciousness. They're different fundamentally. So your question is ChatGPT as intelligent as that person?
I guess. I think. All right. I think I'll answer my own question.
Go
now.
for it.
I think it has to be both. I think it's both, and I think one without the other is meaningless. Mm-hmm. If you can apply but not even know what you're doing, then that's not helpful. Once again, you have no idea. Like, yeah, you can get a good grade on this test, but you don't even know what you're doing. That to me is not. It's like doing without thinking. That's not knowledge. Mm-hmm. Knowledge and true understanding is both. I think you have to have an underlying understanding of what's going on, but you also have to be able to apply it. Because if you understand it but can't apply it, I don't think you truly understand it.
Yes, I agree.
It's like how can you talk about all this and again, the physical part, the example you gave about a heart surgery is interesting to me, because I guess those two are a little different. Because you can understand, like, how a heart surgery is done, but not understand how to do it. Mm-hmm. But I'm more talking about, like, it's so weird. How can you understand how to do a math problem, but not understand how to do it?
Wait, what? Like, you said the same thing twice.
Like, yeah, I know, because it's weird. How can you understand how a math problem is done?
But you're not able to do it.
But you're not able to do it. How is that possible?
Well, then, do you actually know how it's done? Because, like...
But you can explain how it's done.
I think if you can explain it, you probably
You could be able to do it, but that's not true. That's not true.
Why would it be true? If you go step for step.
For the same thing as a heart surgery. You know how to do it. You know which...
But
I guess there's no physical part. The only physical part is like the writing the hand.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Maybe you're not able to... Well, I guess if you're not good at algebra. I guess that one's more clear. If you know how to do it, you should be able to do it. But there is someone who could do it without knowing how to do it, though. Like, just...
No.
Yeah. Or not be able to explain their steps. Just do it.
I think just be smarter. Like, they'd be able to, like, more intuitively understand how things work more than another, but they still would know how to do it fundamentally. They've never seen it before.
They intuitively know how to do it. Have you ever solved a math problem and someone asks, how did you do that? And you don't know how to tell them how you did it? I've had that happen.
I think that the unique thing about that case is that explaining things, like, your brain is like level 10, but when you start to go put it into words, like, that's what Elon talks about with Neuralink, right? Neuralink doesn't do this obviously, but if there's a chip you can put in your brain that can automatically connect to a Wi-Fi and communicate with each other, I would understand your brain 10 times more than I do right now from speaking to you, because when we translate thought into words, we lose a lot of information because we're trying to put it into this English language, and we lose information through words. I think the problem, like, we can't explain things to someone else because our brain understands it, but the communication process of limiting it down and putting it into exact words is like, there's like latency there because it's like a lag, because you can't translate all of it into this. It's like I know how to say I love apples in English. I'm trying to tell it to you in French. So like translate it before I tell it to you.
Interesting. So that's so weird though, because like, what does it even mean to have an intuitive understanding if you can't explain it in English or in a language? That just doesn't make sense.
Like, I don't know everything that's going on in your mind right now.
Well, like I'm talking about, like, doing something. Like, what is something you are able to do? Like, you pride yourself on.
Ride a bike.
Could you explain? I guess that's a good one because that's because of physical processes, right? It's
Should I
hard to
avoid
explain
physical?
every physical process.
Okay.
But in terms of
How to conduct a good podcast, like how to speak properly.
how to speak properly, you could explain how you speak properly in English.
I can.
You can, but like, do you think? I don't think there's a world that you could like. Maybe there is.
You know a better one?
Maybe there is a world where you could speak well and not be able to explain it.
You know, better one. I think Joe Rogan's a great entertainer. Can he explain how he's such a good entertainer? Or is it like so baked into intuition that he just does it naturally?
Maybe you could explain it.
Well,
Well,
there's a scenario where
you're saying explain how? Like
Yeah.
explain it. Oh, I don't know. I
Dude.
mean, maybe.
or is he just naturally that because intuitively his brain
He
is
just
kinda figuring it out?
knows.
He just knows, yeah.
He just knows what to do.
That's the thing with practice. Like sometimes you practice something so many times that you don't even realize the things that you do that you have to tell someone, right? It's like you just kind of assume they'll do it because it's become so like when I'm editing a podcast, I've done like 75 of them. There's like rules you learn about like how this fucking software works, and sometimes some of them are so simple to me.
You clearly have some anger towards that software.
No, I love
that word.
No, I love the software.
Fucking software.
There might be like the rules I learned about. I can like do this and avoid that problem, and like I will just learn how to do it. I'll do it every single time. I'll forget that I even do it. It becomes natural.
Yeah.
And then I'm explaining to someone new that I'm hiring that this is how you edit it, and I see him struggling with something like, oh, just do the thing. Oh wait, he doesn't know how to do the thing because he never learned that lesson yet.
Yeah.
It's like when you learn how to do something so well, like do math problems, some things that kind of become second nature to you. You don't waste like brain storage on that anymore, in like at least the conscious part of your brain, because
It's just muscle memory.
muscle memory. There you
Muscle memory. That's the word you were looking for.
go. There you go.
It's crazy. I think we talked a lot about this. I like this.
That's good. We really explored a lot today.
Ignoring the politics part, I think all of our conversations intertwine for sure.
They're all connected.
Because I think even you talk about the muscle memory, right? It's like,
Rowing.
well, yeah, starts at rowing, right? But muscle memory is just a product of habit, right? Doing something over and over again. And we talked about bad habits, good habits, how to avoid habits, how to create better
It's
habits.
gonna be a difficult one to title, so I might need some assistance.
No, I think it's good though. I think it's
fun.
good.
A lot of fun today. Behind you is a poster where on episode 72 we started asking guests to sign it. So I have Sharpie somewhere. How we sign it, man?
So again, subscribe to the Baru podcast. Follow him on YouTube. Great man here. Once again, I appreciate you on the podcast.
Of course, man. Oh man, I should have told you I'm crossing it. Choose a spot, man. The world is yours. 75 is your number, all right? Perfect. I love it. Your name will be etched in the history of Brewer Podcast forever. You can toss it on the suitcase. Or just put it right there. I'll get it, that's fine. Would you be down to play today's connections to close it off? I think it'd be
Today's connections, I might have already done it. Hold on.
check if you have. I can pull up my computer. Your phone.
Oh.
I'll show it to you. If you've already done it, then we'll skip it. I'm gonna play this in a minute. But wait, why is it showing me the answer? Oh, someone in my account might have already played it. Let me log. I didn't see anything. Let me log out of it. There's a pop-up that blocked all the words. Yeah, it might have been my sister. Wait, why is it solved on every account?
Well, that's all right.
Oh well. You'll do the wallet challenge though. So we started a challenge on the podcast. Have you seen this before?
No.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna get a stopwatch. I have a wallet. I'm gonna put underneath this bag. Look at it. It is impossible to get the cards out of the wallet. You can get the cash out easily. The cards are difficult to remove from the wallet. I won't say impossible because people have done it on the podcast live. And I'm gonna give you a max of 5 minutes to see if you can be intelligent enough to figure out how to get the cards out of the wallet. So in 3, 2, 1, I'll count down, You can remove the bag, look at the wallet, and figure out how to get the cards out. All right, ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
So the goal is to get the.
Cards out of the wallet.
Am I allowed to touch the wallet?
Yes, you're allowed to touch it. Do whatever you need to.
Oh, it's like a little puzzle. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, you can get the cash out.
Oh yeah. Oh damn, I already lost.
The cards on the wallet. What? So there's a way.
There's a way.
There is a way. I don't want to break this thing.
Yeah, you can do it without breaking it.
Figure that. Oh, come on now. This is ridiculous.
What?
These. This is some bullshit, man.
We're approaching 48 seconds here. The record is 34 seconds.
Bruh. Hey, listen, I didn't say I was intelligent.
Hey, it might just be a different kind of intelligence. We all got different kinds of intelligence. Canistic. World record holder. Not world record, I keep saying that. Michigan, University of Michigan record holder.
Oh man, I'm afraid I don't think I'm going to be able to do this.
Still got time. It's an anti-theft wallet.
It's an anti-theft wallet, is that what it is?
I broke it, that's why it became anti-theft.
Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Boom. 1 minute and 31 seconds.
Ugh, that was slow. That was slow, man.
It's alright, it's alright. There we go. Keep the dollar. Not play.
No, dude, I'm not gonna keep.
Alright. But yeah, we hit a lot. Anything else that we missed today?
Dude, honestly, I just want to say this one more thing, which is like, for anybody watching, like, get in good habits. Like, I think that should maybe like I don't know how you're gonna title it because there's a lot to talk about.
I'll work on that.
But like honestly,
I just hired someone on my team to do titles.
My favorite thing was the habits, because I think everything, like we talked except for the politics, really related to habits. Even rowing.
I agree.
Like, even through like pain and stuff like that, like getting yourself into a position of like success is so important. Having good habits. I'm definitely gonna change my life after this podcast.
What are you gonna do?
Well, I'm gonna try to put myself in better habits, better positions, change my environment. Maybe I was definitely trying to work on like getting off like content like Netflix. So maybe this will be a little boost for me.
I'm happy for you.
Appreciate
man.
it.
And we'll run this back a couple months from now.
We'll see what it is.
Maybe pre-cruise season in the spring. When you're not, I know you're gonna be busy in the spring, but yeah, man, had a lot of fun today. We hit on a lot, so I appreciate you taking the time, coming down. I know you're a busy guy, and yeah, man.
Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed that episode, then I guarantee that you'll enjoy this episode right here. Make sure you click here to watch that episode, and the best way to support us is to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell as well. It is the best way to support us, and it'll help us to keep growing, get better guests, better production, and make this the best podcast.